Friends, welcome to another very special hobby stream. I'm Brett. I'm joined today by Zach. We are sitting in opposite seats.
Yeah, we were thinking about maybe trying to get you guys to believe that Brett was Zach.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm Zach.
And I'm Brett.
But not really.
But no, now we messed
spoiled
it up.
the joke.
They don't.
Oh, well.
Yeah, we gave it away. Spoiler. Brett, what are we doing today?
We are doing all things Tau. The book is almost out.
Almost out. Yeah, less than a
this
week.
Weekend, the new Tau codex is coming out, and Zach and I, as fans of the show will know, are huge Tau fans. We both, it's a sort of our primary 40K faction.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you have multiple primary 40K factions.
I'm like slowly defecting.
Yeah.
But I still do love the Tau.
to another good guy alien race.
Some more good guy aliens. Yeah.
Yeah. But we are both huge Tau fans. And we, are excited, very excited for this upcoming release. And so we wanted to share with you guys some cool hobby things that you can do with your Tau army. Some that's sort of more basic, and some that are a little more advanced, and some that are just downright cool.
Yeah.
So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Let's get creative.
Let's get creative.
So this is our smorgasbord of Tau modifications, upgrades, and accessories that we're going to be working on today. So Zach, you're going to be focusing a little more on painting, and I'm going to be focusing a little more on modeling and modeling, I guess. Yeah. But here you can see some of the things that there's actually some things that we're going to be working on today that aren't even on this turntable. So right here you see a hammerhead. We're going to be doing some magnetization of seeker missiles and the targeting array. So we'll get into that in a little more detail later. Next up is the Piranha. That's your project, Zach. You want to tell us a little bit about that, what's there? So
we have a good friend from our local play group named Chris, and he has designed a Piranha topper painstakingly to make the Piranha a covered vehicle, not an open top vehicle. We do a lot of talking around here. I know Brian has mentioned this. We're just like kind of weirded out by people going into combat in the 41st millennium without their helmets on. Yeah. And Tau especially, like Tau play everything safe, right? So we decided we would cover the Piranha Cockpit, and there's two awesome parts to this. One is we think it looks cool. Two is it makes the Piranha go from something that might take about 4 hours to paint up pretty well, for me anyway, to something that I'm probably going to do 2 of them here in the stream, I think in less than an hour.
Yeah, it's a great upgrade. It looks awesome. It saves you a ton of time. And frankly, like for a lot of folks, myself included, in the headcanon, it just makes more sense. Like why would they be driving around in an alien planet in a war zone without a shield over them?
Right. So I'm excited for this, and we're going to give our good friend Chris a shout out for this. The link for this is not up yet. You guys will see. Brett's going to talk about it. The links are up for these things. We got to put this one up a little bit later, and we will. And it'll be on My Mini Factory. That's right. Which means that you guys can, if you got a 3D printer, you can grab it, print it out for yourself, top your Piranha off in style.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great. So the third thing we're going to be doing today are these crates and barrels. So these are, I designed these. They're sort of a generic sci-fi accessory scatter train. And these are also, I've made these available on our My Mini Factory page. So there's like a bit of a lag from the time you upload stuff to My Mini Factory till the time it becomes available for download. So while I uploaded them this afternoon, they are not exactly available today, but as soon as they are available, I'll update the video description with the link. So we're going to be, we've printed out a set. We painted these just for this for the turntable here, but Zach's going to be painting another set. And then the last thing that we're doing is this crisis suit. So we're doing a couple different things to the crisis suit. We're doing an alternate. Actually, why don't you click? Yeah, we've got a video for this.
Oh, that's right.
A special video for this. So this is a design project that I worked on actually almost 6 months ago now, but it's an alternate forearm that sort of mimics the old Forge World Commander variants that had these sort of receiver sockets built into their arms for their weapons. And it's super cool. If you've never seen these models, I highly suggest you check them out. The XB81, 84, and 89. And they have these little receiver sockets for their guns. But what I really wanted was, once 8th Ed came out, and you are incentivized to take multiple copies of the same weapon on a battle suit, I really wanted like a double and triple barreled versions of these weapons to mount on my Crisis arms. And I'm the kind of guy who likes my Crisis suits modeled with one arm free. And so what I really wanted was one arm with all the guns on it, and then the other arm just kind of free for punching or battlefield engineering duties.
Throwing a drone like a disc.
Throwing a drone.
Like a frisbee.
Yeah, digging a hole, foxhole, or moving a rock, something like that. So I designed these receiver sockets that sort of mimic the old Forge World variants, but then also designed triple-barreled weapon options, specifically for the flamer and plasma rifle were the ones I was most excited about, and printed these up. And so we're going to put these on the My Mini Factory again page and make these available for download.
Yep.
But I've got a set here. I've got one of my suits modeled with that. Oh yeah, I can show here. So this guy's got one of these arm upgrades, and then we've got the flamer here that we're going to be magnetizing and mounting on his arm. So, and then the very last thing, I promise it's the last thing. If you go back to the glam cam, actually.
Back to glam. You don't want to be seen
right
waddling around.
No,
in the back.
it's this Crisis suit here that I want to show. So if you look, he's got some cool jet flame thrusters on his backside. So these I've already glued these on and painted them up. But these are also going to be available on our My Mini Factory page. So these are basically like jet flame effects that I designed. You can just glue them in the receptacles, those little square holes in the back of their jetpacks, and then paint them up some blue flame effect color, and it looks really sweet. So that's a lot of things. So we're going to be bouncing around a lot today as we work on these. As we said before, I'm going to be doing a lot more sort of gluing and magnets and modeling.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach's going to be doing a lot more painting.
That's right.
But yeah, we're just going to kind of hobby away on all of these different sort of mini projects that all relate to Tau. And feel free to throw out some questions if you have questions about the new book or about modeling or hobbying with Tau.
Yeah.
We'd love to chat with you guys.
Yeah. How about I get going and show folks what I'm doing?
Yeah, sure.
While you kind of get squared away.
Yep. Sounds good.
So I'll go over kind of quick here, folks. Now, first of all, I will say that if you've been watching the channel, you have seen me paint my Tau scheme several times already, and so it is probably boring for you at this point. But I will go over it again here, just in brief, kind of like in passing. Really, the main focus is going to be some of the exciting stuff that Brett is doing today. But I'll be doing these, and the thing I'm most excited, honestly, about the Piranha with the top, our friend Chris didn't put a lot of detail on the very tip top of the Piranha, and I kind of like this because I'm going to load this thing up with some decals.
Some sweet decals.
Yeah, which is what I'm most excited about.
The Tau decals are so good.
They are. I realized, and everything we're doing to get ready for this stream, I have decals somewhere in the studio. But I will have to make sure that I know where they are. There's two places and they're right behind me, so I should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and paint these guys up. When that's done, before I do that, I set them aside. I'm going to grab some of the 3D printed scatter that Brett designed, along with some that I don't think he designed.
That's right. Yeah, there's a piece there that we didn't have on the glam cam earlier. That these are available from Thingiverse. I actually don't remember the name of the designer, but Techno on Discord, another Tau player, pointed me to them, and they're so great. They're these little barricades, and they have sort of like an intact version and a battle damaged version.
Yeah.
That's included in the download, and they're amazing. The level of detail is great. They're a great size. You can string them together into like a wall, or you can use them individually. But they're really fun. I like them a lot.
Well, what I'm doing, you can see they're kind of painted like a bronze color. So what I'm actually doing here is I am now hitting them with the chipping effect stuff that we have used before in the stream.
And you can airbrush it.
And I'm airbrushing it on. They actually recommend that you airbrush it. And then we're gonna do this and let this dry. We're going to do a couple coats of this, kind of just in most of the spots, mostly covering the whole thing. We are actually getting, believe it or not, I'm actually getting going on a towel board, no surprise, a new terrain set for the studio. And the concept behind it is something we've had. Brian has cooked up in his mind, and I kind of threw some ideas into it. We have a bunch of the Tau shield line stuff here as well. And
folks have been commenting on the fact there's absolutely massive stack of shield line
back
boxes
there
in the back here for a little while.
And we do have plans for it. And
that's what they're for.
These are part of those plans. You guys may notice we made like a new board that we've used a few times on the stream, which is we kind of call the Autumn board.
Oh yeah.
And the Autumn board is sort of designed to be used for lots of different settings. Sigmar, it can have an Imperial 40K aesthetic. And what we're really doing is we're building just some Tau stuff that we think mostly we'll use on the Autumn board. That's kind of where I'm mostly envisioning it.
Yep.
That said, I think it could probably go on a couple other boards as well.
Sure.
And
no reason why not.
Yeah, we're doing just a few things to kind of get it available for usage on like multiple boards and just be like almost terrain agnostic. We've used this term before. But the Autumn board kind of is like set up to not look like it's doing a lot of crazy, like weird dusting effects or anything like that.
Yeah.
That said, the look we are going to go for is kind of like an abandoned Tau outpost kind of a thing. So normally I don't weather my Tau, but we actually are going to weather this terrain, and actually we're going to weather it quite heavily. So none of this Tau terrain will be these metal colors, but I'm just painting this stuff like this currently, so that this is the underlayer.
That's
and
the
then,
underlayer.
Yeah, it'll shine through.
The chipping medium will,
Yeah, the chipping medium will do its thing. Okay.
Well, Zach, we have a couple super chats. Should we?
Yeah, we should hop in.
On those?
Thank you, Super Reedy. Magnetizing, one aspect of the hobby I've never even dabbled in yet. So keen to catch up on this tomorrow. Would now be a good time to mention the New Year, New Hobby competition on the Discord. It would be. Let's talk about that a little bit. And I will say I read through Super Reedy's chat really carefully because whenever he supports Tabletop Titans and gives us his support and through a super chat, it's like full of puns.
Always very pun filled.
That I often have to decipher.
Yeah. And sometimes they're so like subtle that unless you know this about Super Reedy, you might not necessarily catch. I don't see any puns there.
I didn't see any puns. I
think it's just genuinely
just a nice super
expressing excitement about magnetization.
Well, it's funny because I have to admit I was surprised because he could have said that I haven't quite hasn't stuck with me yet, or like I was like, there's going to be so many magnet puns in this super chat. Super Reedy, yes. I think Brett knows a little bit more about this than I do. The New Year, New Hobby competition. Is that fair to say, or am I putting you on the spot?
I know that it exists. I know that Friend is sort of organizing it and running it, and I know that they've created a channel for it in the Discord.
Okay.
So if you check the videos description below, there's a link to the Titans Discord, and there are channels there for posting of New Year, New Hobby, and it's going to be a competition. It's going to be a community vote. But beyond that, I've been out for a couple weeks, and so I've not kept up, unfortunately. I apologize. But it's going to be running for a little while. I think it runs through most of February.
Yeah, yes, I think I forget the exact date, but I do think the cutoff is later in this month.
Yeah.
But as Super Reedy is saying, there is a channel in Discord about this, and as Brett has mentioned. So go there, check out the details at the top of the channel, and if you are doing a new army for the new year, I'm imagining we might see a lot of Tau all of a sudden, I think, and maybe a lot of Eldar. GW has been teasing some stuff, maybe some Crusher Stampedes or normal Tyranids. We know some of the stuff coming down the pipeline now.
Right.
Or
Conquest.
Or Conquest, yeah. Can be Conquest, can be Sigmar. No specifics for that, as far as I know, and I don't think there are. So thank you, Super Reedy, and folks, check that out, please. We also have a big one here from Hazard Brewing Super big thank you, Hazard Brewing. He says, as I'm sitting here airbrushing my marble bases on my Custody army, I realize the Badger Patriot I bought 20 years ago and abused, not knowing what to do, is a pain in my bottom. It seems to nearly clog every other base. If someone wanted to splurge and invest in an airbrush now that they aren't a moron, or at least less of a moron, what would you suggest? I know you use the Badgers, but what do you think about them compared to, say, H&S Evo? And then he says, and of course love the shows, love the one model shorts, love the information transfer. You rock as always. Lots of characters left here. Baba Booey, sorry I'm in the New York City area and it's instinctive. I actually, Baba Booey, yeah, I've heard people say it, but I'm not sure I know what it means. It's just kind of like a silly thing. Hazard Brewing, maybe let me know. I'm from like lower Pennsylvania, upper Maryland, so I don't think it came quite that far. I don't know the H&S Evo. I don't know this airbrush. Do you?
That's the. So I have the H&S Infinity.
Okay.
And it's sort of like the sister airbrush to that one.
Okay.
The Infinity is aluminum. The Evo is steel. It's a little more maybe durable. Also a little bit less expensive. Man, Hazard Brewing. I've thought a lot about this as I've been sort of progressing down my airbrush journey. I'm sort of like ready to get a tool that is good, and I'm not afraid of spending a little bit of money. Like, what is the right product for me? And weirdly, I know Kat really likes her H&S Infinity, but I weirdly feel like the combo that you have settled on with a Badger and a Sotar, a pair of airbrushes, is sort of where I would want to end up. I think that having one airbrush that has a large cup, a very wide opening so that it's easy to clean, get down in there, with a big needle so that you can put out lots of paint for priming and base coating.
Which is what I'm doing right now.
Which is what you're doing right now, is great. Like, I don't want to use a small, even though you can use an airbrush with a small needle for all of those things, it takes longer, it clogs more rapidly, and you end up just spending more time cleaning it. And then similarly, if you get something like the Iwata, the Iwata Eclipse that Andrew has and I have, it sort of has a .035 or 0.35 needle. Which is sort of halfway between the Badger Patriot and the Infinity, or between the Badger Patriot and the Sotar.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the thought is that maybe you could get one airbrush that could sort of be a happy middle ground between the two, but it ends up doing neither especially well, I think. It doesn't lay down a lot of paint rapidly like the Patriot does, and it doesn't give you that super fine cone and detail that the Sotar does. So I think, weirdly, after trying out an H&S Infinity, trying out an Iwata Eclipse with a 0.35 needle, that I'm sort of coming around to, I think, what either you were just super lucky or intuited or knew before I did, which is that like actually having two airbrushes, one for big paint application and one for fine paint application, and just really specializing gives you the best end result. And I guess it's sort of intuitive.
That's what has worked for me. I do like a lot of other airbrushes I use, like the Iwata. I think the Iwata is nice. My only issue I don't love about the Iwata is that I feel like I can't access the needle easily. Yeah. And then like I think you and Adrian now do the thing where you leave the back off, but then I feel like the needle's a little exposed. It's exposed, right? Which it's almost also sort of. That was like a comic gig. That was like an own show prank. It's also a little exposed to the Sotar, but I feel like it doesn't stick out as much. I don't know. Maybe it's my imagination.
I think there's this other piece to it, which is you and I do a lot of terrain airbrushing, and so having the Badger is great because we just
The
down,
Patriot.
The Badger Patriot is
Yeah.
great because we just lay down
guy.
a ton of paint. You know,
Yeah.
if you're painting a big train piece, you need that.
Right.
I think, you know, for Adrian's case, he uses the Iwata clips. He paints a lot of actual model. Like he only basically exclusively paints models. And if you're painting infantry models, this point I'm making about needing and wanting to paint large swaths of area quickly is maybe less relevant.
Yeah. You know, Hazard, the first airbrush I bought was the Patriot 105, and then the second airbrush I bought was another Patriot 105.
Yeah.
After I ran my Patriot 105 into the ground. So I got another one, and then a couple weeks after that, I was like, you know what? I'm also going to get the Sotar.
Yep.
And that's what I've been using recently, and that's what I like. As Brett's saying, I've cranked out a lot of models and a lot of terrain with this combination in the past year.
Yeah. So I would not think of the Badger Patriot as a sort of airbrush that you get started with and then graduate out of. I think it is a genuinely useful tool, even one, you know, very all the way into the, you know,
Your twilight years.
As an advanced hobbyist.
Yeah.
It's just good for putting down a lot of paint.
We had a friend, Alston,
and not clogging.
right, Alston Lin, who has painted the studio's White Scars army, and much of the Space Wolves army as well. And Alston was in here a few months back, and he was just looking at different airbrushes that people were using, including the Patriot, including, you know, he uses a Patriot and a Sotar, and he was kind of looking at some of the other ones, the Infinity.
Right.
And his observation was really astute, which was that the barrel, it's a really tiny little area down here, where you can see the needle, and so it's a really fine funnel, and
let's compare them.
Yeah, and that it actually makes things quite hard to clean.
Right.
And for me, an airbrush that's easy to clean is keeping the airbrush clean is like the airbrush like thing to do number one.
Yep.
So we'll
Can you zoom this?
Yeah.
All right. So look down in those. So like the Infinity on the right, you almost can't see the needle in there because it's kind of down a hole so far. Right. There's a needle in there somewhere. I can't see. I almost can't see it.
Yeah.
But the Patriot, like on the left, that needle is right there, and it's so open and so easy to clean. And when there's like paint in there, you can tell, and you can get it out. And you can get a Q-tip in there, and you can get water in there easily. So this is the selling point for me for the Badger Patriot is just this like super wide open. Oh, and here's the Sotar.
And crazy, there's a Sotar for such a tiny fine airbrush.
It's the same way.
Big wide open bottom there.
Yeah, like the cup is just right in the middle of the paint flow chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is nice because it makes it easy to clean.
Yep.
And if you have mistakes happen, if you have clogs happen, if you have like gross things getting down in there, which you do want to avoid when you can, but if you have that happening, then I find that the two Badgers for me have been very easy to clean. I think the Iwata is not bad either in this context.
It is. You're right. It is also similarly sort of wide open.
Wide open.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you're like, oh, what's the component of the airbrush I care about the most? For me, it's really the airbrush's ability to not clog, and a lot of that has to do with other factors outside of the airbrush itself. But it's the ease of cleaning the airbrush.
Yeah.
How
because you spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
You look
About
at
half the
airbrush
time.
A lot of times.
Half the time should be cleaning an airbrush. Yeah.
All right.
We do have other super chats, but we should see what you're actually up to. Like,
yeah, you want to zoom in here?
Yeah.
So I've done a little bit of pin vising, and so just really quick for those who might not be familiar, this is a pin vise. It is essentially a handheld drill, and I've got a little itty bitty drill bit in here today, and what I'm doing with it is I'm drilling pilot holes in these seeker missiles. So the plan is I'm going to drill two little holes. I'm going to put two itty bitty magnets in there, and then I'm going to put two little slightly larger magnets in these spots. So I've got a selection of magnets here that I'm going to use. Some larger ones. These are 1/8 inch diameter, and I've got some smaller ones. These are 1/16 inch diameter, and I'm gonna put the 1/8 inch magnets in the Devilfish chassis, and then the 1/16 inch magnets in the Seeker missiles. And if I get the polarity right, then these will just stick. I'll be able to magnetize them underneath the Devilfish, just like that. And then I'm going to leave the tip just kind of poking out a little bit, because then it'll be visible from when the vehicle's upright. It'll sort of look like this, and then you can pull them off one at a time because they're one-use weapons. So and then your opponent and you will have a good indication of how many Seeker missiles are left on the vehicle, just based on looking at the model. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to magnetize this aerial. So this is the, targeting array, target lock. I'm not sure. At various points, this piece of war gear this bit has represented different things. And you typically will mount it sort of here-ish on the tank. And I guess some people will do it there. But I'm not expecting that I'll want to remove this or exchange it. That's not why I'm magnetizing it. I'm simply magnetizing it because it will break if I don't. And so, I'm almost guaranteed to bump this at some point during gameplay. And so if I magnetize it, when I bump it, it'll just kind of fall off and I'll be able to put it back on, and no harm, no foul. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the Seeker missile. I'm going to do two magnets. One of them is going to sort of side by side in this base, and then I'm going to do two magnets in the vehicle chassis, and they'll mount right there. These magnets are from a company called K&J Magnetics. I did not put the link for these in the video description. I'll do that. But they have great service. They are very inexpensive. You can buy 10 magnets for like $2 or $3. And so I typically will just load up on magnets, buy 4 or 5 sets of them, so 40 or 50 magnets for 10 or 12 bucks, and then I'm good for like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And
you turn me on to these guys as well, and I did the same thing. I bought like 1 million magnets.
Right, and then you get the N52 grade, which is sort of the higher strength magnet, and you can get a variety of sizes. Experiment with which ones you like. Like I said before, sort of the larger size that I'll use I guess the normal size that I'll use are 1/8 by 1/16, so 1/8 inch diameter by 1/16 inch thick. And then for sort of itty bitty things like these Seeker missile stands, I'll use 1/16 inch by 1/32 inch. Man, I hear some people prefer. I know some people prefer metric, so they'll want like 3 millimeters instead of 1/8.
Oh, I see.
Drill bits in the U.S. are much more readily available in English sizes, and so I actually prefer the English size. But one downside is if you do require metric magnets, K&J doesn't sell them, so you'll have to find another source. But yeah, they're my go-to for magnets. They ship really quickly. The shipping is very affordable, reasonably priced, and you can get a lot of magnets for not a lot of money in a short amount of time. And I've never seen them not in stock. So yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
For whatever it's worth, I think you mentioned this. They have a lot of weird sizes and shapes too.
Yes, they do. They have squares and they have rectangles and they have all kinds of weird things.
Yeah, and in the context, I understand in the context of geometry, squares and rectangles aren't that weird. But overall, for magnets, often we don't use those sides.
It's just hard to put a square hole in something to sink the magnet in.
Exactly, but if for some reason you need to, they have them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so I'm doing I've got a, what is this, a 1/32 inch drill bit that I'm doing all of my pilot holes here first. So some of these, like I said, in the vehicle chassis, I'm going to open up to a larger size in a little bit. But for now, the small size pin vise is going to allow me, the small size drill is going to allow me to make sure I get the hole started exactly where I want it. and then I can easily open that up to a larger size with the larger size drill bit as a second step. And so you just get are more sort of accurate with your hole placement if you start with a smaller size drill. And these, I've got these drill bits here that are, I picked these up on Amazon. They're made by Dremel. You can use really any drill bits, but I like this because it's got in 1/64th size increments between 1/32 and 1/8. So it's got a lot of different sizes, and again, it does go up to 1/8. It's good to get a drill set that matches your magnet sizing. And then yeah, it's got a little tiny one, and the 1/8 is the biggest one I would ever use. The important thing is don't use these drill bits for anything other than hobbying. Because as soon as you start to dull these bits, I mean, these bits won't dull drilling into plastic, but as soon as you start to dull them, if you were to say, use them for like home improvement projects or do some wood, drill into wood, even wood will dull your drill bits, or metal, you'll end up with, just even slightly dulled bits, and it'll make this process quite a bit more frustrating because you're doing all of this by hand. It sort of is tiring on your fingers to get enough force to drill here. If you make sure that your drill bits are always really sharp, then you'll be happier. You'll have a better time of it.
Yeah, and thank you, Twilight's Death. He says, "Where's the triple airburst fragmentation projector option? This is awesome, Brett, and I don't have a printer nor know anyone local that could print this for me. Suggestions?"
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are 3D print services that you can contract with. So the sort of classic one is Shapeways, and you can download the STL and then upload it to Shapeways, and then they will print for you. They have a bunch of different materials that you can choose from. The pricing is expensive, and the timing is, I think, probably the bigger issue. They often will take 2+ weeks to print stuff and ship it to you. But it's like a guaranteed thing, right? Like you get exactly what you expected, and it's going to be good quality, and it'll work. I think the other route you can go is there are communities online that I think there's a Reddit. I think there's a Reddit called like 3D Print My Thing or Print My Thing or something like that. And it's basically a place where there are communities, Reddit, including this Reddit page. There are others as well, Facebook groups and the like, where you can, basically work with independent 3D printers. Etsy, I know, is sort of a place where you can do that. So yeah, I think I started with Shapeways, and at some point got to the point where I couldn't sort of handle waiting
It's not even
2 weeks for
the waiting,
the
but
part.
it is things are crazily expensive. For example,
Yeah.
my 6 Shining Spear upgrades, which were really just the helmets.
Yeah.
For 6, I think I had got enough for 8, or however many they gave me, maybe 10. And the lances
Yep.
that you just put on a Guardian or a Wind Rider body.
Wind Rider or Wind
Wind Runner.
Wind Runner?
Those were like almost $100.
Yeah.
And I did get like the top quality, and
Right.
they're nice and everything, but
The highest grade plastic.
it was kind of crazy to, GW charges a lot for their models.
Right.
I think they're worth it, but then getting like just heads and spears from like some
Yeah.
guy who designed him in his home office, probably as a hobby, and then suddenly I'm paying like an
Yeah.
insane amount of money, like $100 for them.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's the Shapeways. That's one of the challenges with Shapeways is they're a service. They're sort of an established company. They have overhead. They have to, pay employees and benefits and
Yeah.
have a physical building and all of that kind of stuff. And if they're competing, they're not going to compete on price with somebody in their garage with a 3D printer earning, that has a side gig. So
Exactly. Well, I hope that helps. Twilight's death until you can get your own. But Brett and I always say that we find that it's something that you could use. We find that it's something if you could maybe convince a group of gamers to go in on.
Yep.
There's a few things we've said in the past we think fall into this category.
Right.
Wire cutter or
foam
wire cutters of either the tabletop one, which I now am really into, or even just the hand one, we say.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things, too, that would probably be a little pricier.
And someone's got to operate it. It's not, there's going to be one person in the group that's like, got to be the person with the printer in their basement or their garage.
Right.
That everyone sends stuff to and is sort of the 3D printer person.
And that is you.
That's me right now, but honestly, you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And you have to have a good attitude about it because, everyone wants their stuff printed, but it takes a lot of time and it's work and, you feel bad charging people for it because they're your friends, but at the same time, you're like, you don't just want to be on-demand 3D printer for your whole hobby group. But,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe there's a rotation you can work out where one person has it for a little while and then you give it to someone else for 1 year and then you give it to somebody else for the next year. I don't know.
I think it definitely is. I think it definitely does fall into that category, though. Things what could we all get together and buy and con one of our group members into keeping in his garage?
Right.
Yeah. And thank you, Megan, for Broken Chef. Megan has super chatted twice the same question by accident. It happens. Megan, though, says, Broken Chef sends his love and also wants to point out that Brett has a stash. Yeah, so for Brett actually doesn't know about this. We forgot to tell Brett about any of this. In fact, he might have even seen a meme. I don't know if you saw the meme where John has a fake mustache on and is like, I'm Brett. Move along. Yeah, so we kind of forgot if you had a mustache or not while you were doing things.
So I'll so I don't, it's not intentional. I have not shaved in several weeks.
So you might not have had a mustache at the time.
I don't think I've ever had a mustache. I think what happens is that, as you can tell, my facial hair is very patchy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the least patchy on my upper lip.
Okay.
And so after several weeks of not shaving, that facial hair is a little bit more obvious.
Yeah, well, it was funny because we kind
of... hopefully by next week I'll have shaved.
Okay.
This won't be a topic of conversation.
It was a topic of conversation when we didn't even know, if you kind of think about some people and you're like, that person has a mustache, and everyone goes, wait, everyone suddenly is like, wait, no, he doesn't, or yes, he does. And that's what happened. And none of us really knew if you had a mustache or not. And Meg was in camp that Brett definitely has a mustache.
Oh.
Other people were like, Brett has never had a mustache. So there was...
mustaches can exist. It's not like a...
On Brett.
It's also not mutually exclusive with other facial hair. If you have a mustache as well as a beard, if you just don't shave, you have a mustache as well as a beard, right?
Yeah.
What is it called when you just don't shave and have hair on your face?
I guess that's a beard.
Is it? Isn't a beard down here?
I just cut away. But yes, okay. Brett is located, pointing to the area of his face that we traditionally associate with a beard.
Yeah.
And I would, I don't know. I mean, yes, I think so. I think
I think so.
You now have a beard, right? If it's gone, not you particularly. Well, you do kind of now have a beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm moving on to gluing magnets into holes here. And I'm going to show this first. So I've got one hole. These are both 1/16 inch holes. And I'm going to put a 1/16 inch magnet in this front one, and I'm going to put a 1/8 inch magnet in the back one. And so what I've done is, you can see here, I've got a magnet that I put on this little spatula. It's steel, so it sticks. And then I'm going to put a little dab of glue in the hole, and then I'm going to basically put this magnet in the hole and then sort of slide the spatula off. And I'm going to, while I've got the magnet in the hole, I'm going to sort of keep some relative motion on the on the spatula so that the glue that is inevitably going to kind of come out around the magnet out of the hole and get on the surface of the spatula will not sort of cause the spatula to adhere to the part that I'm trying to glue. And so all we will be left with is the magnet adhering to the part. So here we go. I'm going to put a little dab of glue. And for this first one, because this is the first one I'm doing in my entire army, I actually don't care what the polarity is. I have no idea what the polarity is on the magnet. We'll copy the polarity for the next one to make sure that we maintain the same polarity. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of glue there. And then I'm going to put the magnet in the hole, and I want to make sure you guys can see this. Put the magnet in the hole, and then slide the spatula. So I've got it in there flush, and then I'm gonna sort of keep some relative motion while I'm doing this. And then at some point here, when I think the glue is dry on the magnet, I can rotate a little bit and then sort of slide it off. And so what I've got here is, there we go. So I got a magnet glued into a hole. Just like that. Okay, and then this rear magnet, I'm going to enlarge into a 1/8 inch size. So I'm going to put my 1/8 inch, get my 1/8 inch drill bit out. And these, the way these pin vices work is they've got these collets, and you can put different size drill bits in them, but there's actually 4 sizes of collet. So they come with two actual collet pieces that each have 2 sides. And the extra collet piece that you're not using is stored inside the handle. So that's kind of convenient.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put the 1/8 inch drill bit in and then enlarge this back hole.
I think a lot of people know.
Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a 1/16 drill.
I think a lot of people know to use a pin vise, but for a really long time, I was just always using my house power drill.
Oh yeah, how'd that work for you?
Not always great, to be honest with you. Like, it's one of those situations where you do want the pin vise, not necessarily a power drill. Now, my power drill could go down fairly low power, and like I could. Sometimes it was great for some things, but like what you're doing right now, not usually so good.
Right.
Like something really tiny, like
yeah.
you guys see what the aerial, right? Like here on the hammerhead, not something you want to be
right.
using.
And then the way I make sure that I get the polarity correct for the next one is I just stick the next magnet to the first magnet, and then I swipe it off the first magnet with my spatula. So that way I know that it's in the right orientation. And it's stuck to my spatula and it's not going anywhere. And so now I can apply the glue to the next hole and be guaranteed that when I apply the spatula, the magnet from the spatula to the hole, that it'll be in the right, the
Now,
polarity
Brad,
will be correct.
Maybe I missed this, but what kind of glue are you using?
Oh, that's a good question. Just super glue.
Obviously, I mean, it's kind of a silly question. Of course, you couldn't use plastic glue; it wouldn't work. But I guess what I'm asking specifically is, do you, other than just super glue, I mean, is that really the answer? Is there one better? And maybe that is just the answer. For magnets, I guess like I'm always a little nervous, like, because when we just glue 2 pieces of plastic together with super glue, you know, there's not like this outside primal physics force pulling at the thing that we've glued, right?
Right.
With a magnet, we are actively, like, something is actively trying to pull it away.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah, I think super glue does not work super well. It doesn't stick to magnets very well because the magnets have this, the iron is, will rust, and so they chrome plate them. And the chrome that they plate the magnet with is very, very slippery.
Okay.
And so nothing really sticks to it. You can rough up, you know, if it's a larger magnet, you can maybe run a little bit of fine grit sandpaper over it just to rough the surface, and that'll help glue stick to it a little better. But, you know, even this weekend, I had some models that had some magnets that were just kind of glued to a surface, and on the way back from LVO, those magnets that were just glued to the surface of something popped off.
Oh, I see.
Just in transit on the way back. And so...
so what you're really using to get things to stick is friction.
Friction and surface area. Like if all you have is one side of a magnet and you're just like sticking it to the surface of a piece of plastic, it's not gonna stay.
Right.
That's why it's super important that you drill a hole in the thing and sink the magnet down in, because then you not only get the bottom surface, but more importantly, you get the circumference of the magnet around it.
Yeah.
That's gonna really hold it.
That said, there are some circumstances where you can't necessarily get a good.
Yeah.
You can't get that, and then you kind of are at the mercy of the super glue, right?
Right. You are. And I think in that case, there's some tricks you can do. You can like build up an extra sort of fillet of super glue around the side of the magnet to give you a little bit of that, circumference holding power.
Yeah.
You could, even better than that, if you had room to do putty, you could do like green stuff or milliput.
I have done this.
Yeah. Sort of build up a little.
Or honestly, I've even just put a little tiny, if the hole was a little too big or something was a little too big, I've taken like the tiniest little piece of epoxy, like 2-part epoxy. I think I tend to use the Magisculpt, and I've dropped like a piece that's maybe like the size of like a couscous molecule.
Right.
I mean, that's not the right word for a couscous. A couscous grain.
Yeah, a grain of couscous. Sure.
Let's be scientific here, right? On Hobby Titans. So I've used like a couscous grain sized, Magisculpt to drop it in the hole and then like shove the magnet down in there.
Yeah.
And it like, one, it sticks, it's sticky right away.
Right.
And then two, like it comes up on the side a bit and kind of holds it in.
No, I mean, that's a great point. Like these 2-part epoxy putties that we talk about are actually epoxies. They're glue, So we mostly use them for modeling and sculpting, but they do have adhesive properties. They just take a long time to dry. So you can use them to glue things together. And this is a great example of when you might choose to do something like that. All right, so I was debating a little bit about where I wanted to stick this aerial, whether I wanted to do it sort of in the middle of this section here, more towards the front, more towards the back, hanging off. I think I am going to do it kind of in the middle, have this mounting section align with the sort of sponson here on that attaches the engine, sort of have it sit kind of there-ish. And again, I'm going to start with a smaller drill bit and then enlarge these if I need to put a larger magnet there. And this is another thing that I'm going to try is I've got 1/16 inch magnets in this aerial, but I can put larger magnets in the vehicle chassis, and that's fine. It'll just give me a little bit more holding strength by having a larger magnet in the chassis.
Brett, now I know we haven't gotten to the crisis suit yet.
Right.
But you and I did do a top 5 this week.
We did. Yes.
And I'd like to get to the top 5 because the top 5 often brings forth some hot takes. And some opinions that I can then later be raked over the coals for.
Sure. Yeah, this is one of Discord's favorite pastimes.
Yeah, and so
is holding you to your hot takes.
Right. One of the things we decided to do today is do a top 5 of favorite mechs.
Because it's Tau release week.
Because Tau are coming out Saturday.
And Tau are known for their mechs.
Tau are known for their mechs. I think a lot of people got into Tau for their mechs.
Yeah, sure.
You are super into mechs.
I do. You tease me. I don't know. Is that the right word? Tease me or sort of roll your eyes at me for the fact that I am not super familiar with a lot of movies. Be like, hey, you'll make some movie quote and you'll be like, isn't that funny? And I'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm not. And you'll be like, it's this movie, and I'll be like, what? I've never seen that movie.
Yeah, I'll quote just like a famous, super famous.
Right,
movie.
super famous movie, and I have never. And we have the sort of opposite. We have the opposite interaction when it comes to movies about giant robots.
Right. Sorry guys, a little earlier there if my volume was down. I might have been muted. Sorry about that.
Have you been muted this whole time?
Not this whole time, but a little bit of the time.
Okay, I guess that's the risk of not having
that go down, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully they heard me a little bit, but what I said is we have a top 5 coming up here, and we have
That's
a top 5 mechs list.
Top 5 favorite mechs.
Top 5
and
favorite
this is
mechs.
great. Yeah, I do like mechs. Giant robots, and is like if there's a movie about giant robots, I've probably seen it.
Yeah.
I'm not so much about anime, although I'm getting into Gundam.
Yeah. John and Kat are
very recently.
always blabbing about Gundam.
But
Constantly.
yeah, I like giant robots.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Here's Brett's top 5. We've got them up here. Talk to us about these and why, like we like to do here.
So Pacific Rim is a great movie. It's a super fun romp with giant robots fighting giant space monsters. So it's sort of, a la Godzilla, except with giant robots in the mix.
People in 40K, whenever you play like Guard versus Tyranids, they cite Starship Troopers.
Right.
But if you play like Tau or even Knights versus like something like Crusher Stampede, people are like, oh, Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's the classic giant robots versus giant monsters, sort of in modern pop culture.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it a lot. It's not, there's some cringy, as an engineer, there's some cringy moments when he's like talking about some of the tech that go, Gypsy's nuclear. Okay.
Yeah.
Gypsy's analog.
Analog.
No, pretty sure that's not an analog robot. Anyway, that being said, if you can suspend your disbelief for some of those moments, it is absolute blast. And the robot visuals are cool. Guillermo del Toro does an amazing job of like not taking himself too seriously and the movie too seriously, and it's just a ton of fun.
Now I have seen the movie Atlantic Rim, which is the ripoff, horribly made for TV sci-fi
which you have
version,
seen.
which I have seen multiple times.
I was incredibly, I was very amused to find out that you had seen Atlantic Rim but not Pacific Rim.
Only because it was on a season of Mystery Science Theater 3000,
Exactly.
which is one of my favorite shows, and they just made fun of it. So I've never just seen Atlantic Rim purely.
Right,
I've seen, you would appreciate this, 2 robots and a guy making fun of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Because that's my jam.
That's what Mystery Science Theater is about.
That's what it is. I love when people make fun of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's this next robot?
So there's 2 here from the BattleTech franchise. BattleTech is an alternate, I guess I would almost say sort of similar to Warhammer in the sense that it's like a generic sci-fi universe where humans are the protagonist. I guess there aren't really aliens in the BattleTech universe, and so it does differ in that sense. There isn't like magic or psychic or anything like that, but it's like it takes place far in the future where humans have sort of conquered the galaxy, and it's mostly sort of like Game of Thrones in space. It's like political infighting. The main conflict centers around these
Spice?
sort of right.
It's always spice.
These noble houses who are, it's not dissimilar from Dune in that regard. These noble houses who are battling with each other for political and economic control. But in that fictional universe, giant robots are the main fighting machines for solving these political and economic
problems.
These problems.
Classic standard robot solution.
But they're not like, in the Gundam universe.
No.
Giant robots are these like super special, one-off, very rare machines. Like, these are not that.
That's kind of how 40K is too.
In BattleTech, the giant robots are stamped out of a factory by the thousands, and they're sent to like off to do battle, and there's just like armies of these giant fighting robots. And then, over the centuries, maybe those factory planets have like, had issues or they got destroyed. And so like maybe specific, and then there's this whole like they lost the ability to make certain tech, and so that's like a little bit similar to Warhammer.
Okay,
right?
This is interesting. Actually, like there's like a joke meme right now that's like the Imperium or like something about the Tau laughing. It's like that meme of like the Tau laughing, and it's like they're laughing because the Imperium has this 10,000-year-old knight that like they can't possibly replicate because they lost most of the tech. And meanwhile, the tower just like cranking out storm surges that ignore invuln saves.
I love it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, one after the other, and they don't have any. They don't like paint. You know, all the pageantry that the Imperium puts into it. The tower, like, we need to make something to just like destroy those things.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's kind of like a mix of those two worlds.
It is, yeah. So the Hunchback 4G is a. It takes the biggest gun in the game, because BattleTech has started as a board game. And it takes the biggest gun in the game and puts it on the smallest mech that can possibly carry it. And it's like literally just like a giant walking gun. And he's got it mounted in his right shoulder, and it's super iconic. And he just walks up and shoots his giant gun in your face. So not subtle. And
these kinds of
just
things,
what I love about BattleTech.
These kind of things are not subtle. Typically, giant robots.
The Shadow Cat is the kind of the opposite. It's a clan mech. We haven't gotten into what the clans are, but it's sort of from a different faction in the universe that has sort of a higher level of technology, and they have built the Shadow Cat is sort of a scout mech that can mount, has like sophisticated stealth and maneuverability, upgrades to its legs and its sensors, and it's got this active camouflage kind of thing, and then
fun.
And then I remember playing some of the early BattleTech video games, and just like soloing whole lances of enemy mechs with the Shadow Cat, just with like hit and run stuff. Like you run up, you shoot some things, you use your mobility and your electronic countermeasures to not die, and then run away, and then like sort of recharge and cool down and rest up and come back, and like it was super fun. Anyway, Shadow Cat's awesome. Those are my two favorite BattleTech mechs. And then in the Warhammer universe, the Xb85 Enforcer, it's an amazing battle suit. I never really the XV8, the Crisis, was always kind of my favorite. But then once GW came out with the Enforcer kit, I was like, wow. The first time I assembled one of those, it was just floored. It's an amazing kit. The model looks amazing. In the new book, it's got some just absolutely bonkers rules. It's got -1 incoming damage. It's got a 2-up save natively. It's got buffs it can dish out to nearby crisis units. It's got all kinds of warlord traits and relics that you can put on the thing to just make it insanely survivable or insanely killy. And it's super fun. And the model's great. And then the last one is the Wraith Night. You know, I learned this from you today, Zach, but I love the...
Sorry, I should say I learned it. I was grabbing some stuff, didn't want to make noise. I learned it actually from John, who's in chat right now, over LVO.
Yeah, I love the look of the Wraith Night, and I was like, hey, Zach, tell me about the Wraith Night. Should I put this in my top 5 list? And he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, is there a pilot in the Wraith Night? Does it technically qualify as a mech?
Does it qualify as a mech?
Because that was kind of where we drew the line. It had to have a pilot.
Right.
And he was like, fun fact, I just learned this from John over at LVO, that it does, and it's piloted by the soul, by two Eldari, one who are twins, one who's dead, and his soul has been stored in a soul stone in the Wraith Night, and the other who's alive, who's piloting it. I just thought that was super cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
But I love the model. I understand that the rules are not the best for it right now, but the model's dope. And now that I know this about sort of the lore behind the pilots, I'm like even more into it.
Yeah, it's cool lore. It's a cool model. I love both your 40K picks. Admittedly, those are the only two I knew. I'm not super well versed in mechs, I will admit, but I did make my own top 5. I dug deep. We found some that I think I had to kind of go through childhood and all kinds of times to think about the ones I knew. So
these are some good ones.
These are pretty good. So my very first one is Swardazar from Outer Spacers. Swardazar, I know.
That's a good choice.
He's cool. He's got the Sward. He's got the Tsar shield. No shooting, right? He's got no big guns, but he doesn't need them.
He doesn't.
Right, he doesn't need them. So I do love Swardazar.
Yeah,
he's just
and
super.
If you're familiar with Outer Spacers, you will know.
You'll know that Swardazar is fighting an uphill battle, but he fights it good.
He gets it done when it counts.
He gets it done. Second for me is definitely Y2K Metal Drawn from Mecha Wars.
Okay, that's an interesting choice. But,
I know,
but I'm into it.
I know. Typically, I know Mecha Wars is kind of all about Cloud Strike. Everyone's like, "Oh, Cloud Strike, so cool, Cloud Strike." I don't know. For me, it's Y2K Metal Drawn.
I see your argument, and I find it hard to argue. Okay, Cloud Strike is cool, but Y2K.
Y2K, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So big into those. Okay, moving on. We've got the red one from Skyblades. Super cool.
You're gonna have to convince me on this one because I really like the yellow one.
You like the yellow one, yeah. For me, Skyblades is kind of weird in general, but I will say that both the red and the yellow one is cool. The brown one, they're all cool. But I think the red one's my favorite, mostly because of the lava gun.
Okay.
The lava gun is super cool.
Yep, it's hard.
Like,
I don't know.
How do you?
I guess it's just personal preference.
The sun gun that the yellow one has is pretty cool, but I think the lava gun more cool.
If you like lava, you're always going to pick the red one.
You're always going to pick the red one.
Okay.
Number 3 for me is Trundle Quake from Mechabots. I do love Trundle Quake.
I had to look this one up because I was not familiar with Trundle Quake. But
fans, if you don't, look up Trundle Quake.
Yeah, look it up. Because I was not familiar. This is a pretty obscure reference, so I'm kind of impressed.
Mechabots didn't do like super hot. I don't think it was like really popular because it was the 90s and like not a lot of it was niche to have like Japanese anime on. I think like Sci-Fi Channel was showing things.
Yeah.
But there was Trundle Quake was there, and he was in Mechabots, and they did try to relaunch Mechabots on Netflix.
I saw it pop up in my feed, but I never actually clicked on it.
Yeah.
So.
The new
Okay.
Mechabots doesn't have Trundle Quake in it though.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't even have known even if I had watched it.
Yeah, he wasn't in it. Finally, I think this one is going to be a fan favorite. Gigaslice Mega Pangolin 626 from Mecca Lunch. Definitely, probably my all-time favorite. Saving the best for last here.
That's Tell if you've not heard about Gigaslice Mecha Pangolin, tell everyone about that.
Well, he's a giant pangolin, of course, Mecha Pangolin, and he can turn into a ball of just like a real pangolin, and he just rolls into the enemy. He has sort of an energy shield up in addition, so he's got the cool thing where he's either Mecha Pangolin is either like all defense or all. He's like what the drones. What are the drones that Bridger likes from Star Wars?
Oh yeah, the Rolly drones.
The Rolly drones, they're called. The Rolly drones from the
I don't know what they're called.
Star Wars.
Droidicas?
Something like that, yeah. So Mecha Pangolin, super cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
My favorite mechs.
That's a good list.
Yeah, and we'll see what kind of hot takes I get for these.
I don't know how we kept it together.
I don't know how we kept it together. All those drones are fake. I know no mechs, guys. I literally know nothing about mechs outside of Tau.
I'm watching chat this whole time being like, are they going to get it?
I think
everyone is just very respectful.
I think they got it. They just don't think I'm funny. I'm not. And these were all made up. I know nothing about any of these, any mechs. I made up all these shows. I made up all these mechs.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe we just did
based
that.
on what my understanding.
And if you're still watching at this point,
if you're still,
props to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for putting up with us.
For being a good sport. And Brett, yesterday was top 5 mechs. I was like, okay, maybe I know 5 mechs. And then I think Adrian or someone was like, just name 5 Tau mechs.
Yeah.
Right. In which case, that's like how many there are almost. So I would have just named those guys. Where are we at in reality now?
Yeah, I'm taking way too long to do my little aerial here.
Yeah.
But in reality, this is all I have to do all day today is put some magnets on some things. So maybe I'm not.
I have this classic Titan's dilemma.
Yeah.
Which is that there's no scissors.
Oh.
Do you have scissors, Brett, in your blue box?
I don't. And I don't even know where they would be. What do you need scissors? Oh, to cut your decal.
Yeah,
you want a hobby knife?
Well, I do have a hobby knife. I have several hobby knives. I'm rife with hobby knives, if I'm honest. Wow. The problem, again, here is scissors, I think.
I don't see the problem.
So I will just have to use a hobby knife, and that's how it's gonna be.
Okay.
And I'll make use.
Okay.
Okay. And we're gonna hop over to you while I fume a little bit about the lack of scissors, and try to find the best hobby knife to do this.
So here's what we're doing. I put my two little 1/16 inch magnets on this guy, and I installed one of the front one. Definitely has to be a 1/16 magnet because this front section of the aerial is too small for anything else. But I just kind of tested it, and it there's a little bit of holding force there. Like it's not falling off, but it is not enough. This is not going to cut it. So I'm going to put in a 1/8 inch magnet, a much larger magnet, on the back one, and I'm hoping that I can get a little more holding force out of this guy for just by having a larger magnet on the back. So here we go. I'm gonna let's see. I need to again, like my trick for sort of making sure the polarity is correct is I put the magnet on the magnet that I want to match, and then I'm just going to slide it off onto my tool, and then I'm just going to do a quick test fit to make sure that everything fits. Looks like I need to clean up some flashing here around the entrance to this hole. Make a little chamfer so that the magnet will slide in easy, and then here we go. I'm going to put some glue in there. Yeah, and you asked me about super glue. I think the type of super glue you use is, it's a sort of a personal preference thing. I know you and Adrian have your preferences. This one's just about out. My preference for super glue is this like super inexpensive thing I get on Amazon that's like the cheapest. It comes in like a 12 pack, and it's like just like $4 for a 12 pack.
Yeah.
And it's a small container, and so then things like this happen where I run out at the most inopportune moment. But the idea is
that's okay. I ran out of scissors earlier in the stream.
The idea is that super glue in a package it has a shelf life. Like as soon as you open it, eventually it'll dry out, or like the tip will get clogged or something. Like there's going to come a point, a month, 2 months into using a container of super glue, no matter how much is in the bottle, where like the tip gets fouled, or if you don't use it, if you open it and then don't use it for a couple months, where the rest in the container will get dry out or something like that.
Right.
And so my solution to this is not to try to find a container that solves those problems, but instead to just get many small containers of super glue. So like this has been open for about a month or two. So just about the time the tip's like starting to dry out or get clogged or get fouled, it's running out. And I just throw this away and open a new one.
You know what? That's really interesting. I do the same thing. We do the same thing in the studio with SD cards. Rather than try to keep track of SD cards that Adrian and I like to use like 4 or 5 times a day while we're here, and you use them, we all use them, right? The solution is, I suggested this. I was like, hey, Adrian, let's just get like just buy a dozen SD cards.
20 SD cards.
We already have like 20. I was like, I'm tired of looking for an SD card. I want to be like tripping in SD cards. You know what I mean? Too many SD cards. And you know what I'm thinking now? That I will say this, I think the studio could maybe use the same thing with scissors. It sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Just like get a bunch of pairs of scissors.
That's our solution at home for scissors. We and I have, I think, 6 pairs of scissors in our house.
6 pairs of scissors is nice.
I'm not exaggerating. And then you don't have to worry about putting them away.
Right.
There's like 5 places you need scissors.
Yeah.
And one lives in each of those places, and then there's like a floater,
And I will say that
spare.
Putting the scissors away, this is interesting because it seems to me, I'm not sure which of our fellow Titans are watching currently, but it seems to me that putting the scissors away is part of the issue we're having here.
How do you feel about this?
I think if we just got a ton of scissors.
How do you really feel about this?
Then we wouldn't.
I sense that you have strong thoughts on this.
Thank you, Ty. Zach, since you're such a troll, name your top 5 troll models. Also, from both of you, can we get the thing you're most excited to try at the new Tau book?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I know 5 trolls. I'd probably have to make 5 trolls up, too. There's William, Bert, and Tom from The Hobbit movie. I like the ones from the movie, not the ones from the book, because I love the Hobbit movie. So I guess those are 3 of my top 5. I don't know the other 2. Ty, I would have to think about that. As far as the Tau go, I don't know yet. Totally, there's so many things we're most excited about. Last night on Tabletop Titans, we ran. I ran Borkan. Tomorrow, I think I'm running Dalith, and I'm kind of excited for Dalith because it is actually the color. I'm literally putting Dalith decals on my piranhas here right now.
That's like the sept that you Nadras, but like you play them as Dahlia.
Yeah.
Right, Nadras, did I get that right?
Nadras, but they don't have a Nadras decal.
Right, so you run them as Dahlia.
I run them as Dahlia.
Is Nadras like a Dahlia successor?
I think it was, but it's also like very, very quiet.
Right.
Like not a lot going on there. Liberty Fires, I did see your super chat. Sorry, I just wanted to transition from Scissor Chat into that that super chat that Ty had right in front of my face. I will go back to your super chat, I promise. What about you? What are you most excited for?
So I took a break from Tau in the second half of 5th, from the second half of 5th until, oh, there you go, scissors.
Oh yeah,
They just appeared.
Thank you, Meg.
From the second half of 5th until 8th, basically. So I skipped 6th and 7th. And when I got started in Tau, a guy named JTS.
Wow, you like this was like you like sighed.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm
remembering all of this history. Was like super good Tau player. He played this play style he coined Nikken Ryu, which is a Japanese for 2 swords style, and he had this fire. It was basically hammer and anvil. He had a fire base of like broadsides and fire warriors, and then he had like 1 squad in Devilfish and a few stealths that were like his sort of mobile flankers. And so he had this like 3/4 of his army was this like just massive fire base, and then he had like 25% of his army. And he played very well. He's sort of like 20 years ago, Richard Siegler. Like he was a super good Tau player. He won all kinds of events. And I was not into that. Like I respected his ability to play the game, but like that play style just did not jive with me, even though like I considered myself a competitive Tau player at the time. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed playing mechanized Tau. So I brought my whole army. The idea was like my whole army is going to be in Devilfish. I'm going to have Hammerheads as my heavy support. I'm going to have Pathfinders. I'm going to have Crisis Suits. And like when 4th edition rolled around and like you could hide your dudes behind Devilfish and not be charged, but like rapid fire into people, that whole sort of transition from, hey, mechanized Tau is like this niche way to play because you just like the idea of it, into like, oh my gosh, it's amazing because you can rapid fire into people without being charged.
Right.
Fish of Fury, it was called.
Yep.
Was like when I was like super into playing at the time. And so I'm just going to go back to that. I'm just going to go back to playing Hammerheads and mechanized fire warriors and battle suits.
Yeah,
Crisis, stealth, commanders.
Yeah, GW's teased the Devilfish a bit. It's got a ton of like tricks and interesting things it does.
Yep.
We all know that the Hammerhead looks scary with the railgun.
Right.
So that's cool. Yeah, I hope that is at least fun, and I'm sure it's going to be.
Yeah. What about you, Zach?
Like I said, I think really just like
missile sides. I think
I do love missile sides, but I honestly like stealth and ghost kills are kind of my favorite units. But I also do love Vespid and Kroot. I've kind of always liked the stealthy boys. The most. I'm going to do a quick. Oh, Liberty Fires. Thank you so much for your support. He says, I memorized his super chat. He says, bread.
Hey, Liberty Fires. How are you? It's great to be back. I've been gone for a couple weeks, dealing with some family stuff. Hopefully that's behind us, and we'll get back to some regular hobbying again.
Well, I hope so.
I'm excited.
We've had some awesome guests on. We've had a lot of Adrian on, and it is a wild time coming up.
It's a great time to be a Tau player.
Yep. And for me, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like my 2 armies, like within a month, it seems like something you want,
Right.
but actually it's almost
it's almost kind of too much.
it's almost too much,
Yeah.
right? For my 2 40K armies that I'm really into to come out. Well, we don't know when Asuriani are coming out,
Yeah.
but GW's like created a path of preview. Like,
Oh yeah.
they've created a series to be like, hey guys, hey, there's going to be some Eldar soon. Hey guys, hey, here next week.
Hey, just
yeah.
so you know.
Just so you know, Eldar.
Yeah, they've started with the teasers, so it can't be too far, right?
I hope it is kind of far. I hope they tease until like June. That would be great for me if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Cody, but Adrian's not a guest. That's why I said it like that. I know. I was like, we've had a lot of awesome guests, and Adrian. No, Adrian is not considered a guest. Kat is a guest. And by a lot of awesome guests, I just basically mean Kat. We've had an awesome guest in Kat, and an awesome reoccurring Titan in Adrian. There we go. Now I can't get in trouble.
No trouble.
No trouble.
Okay.
And thanks again, Liberty Fires, Brett and Zach. I'm a new 40K player, as you guys have seen me chat about my Black Templars I'm painting.
Ooh.
As I was wrapping up my 3 chaplains, the Tau book came out.
Ooh.
How should Black Templars prepare against Tau? I'm scared.
I have 2 data points for you, Liberty Fires. One is the game that I played against you, yes, Zach, yesterday to practice for your debut on the Tabletop Titans live stream, where you played against Adrian yesterday, and that was awful. I thought I was bringing, at least what's interesting is like I thought I'd be clever. I was like, Redemptors are sort of the meta list, but Redemptors just die to Tau. So I'll bring this like super infantry heavy. You know what? I need to get a new thing of super glue. I'm like completely out.
Do you have more of those?
No.
Little
I don't.
guys? Do you want some of mine?
I need some of yours. Yeah.
Right back there, the AK.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll bring just this infantry horde. They all have 5-up invuln saves, and I'll just advance every turn across the board at you, and just try to weather the storm. Just have a bunch of cheap bodies that'll get a ton of value from army-wide 5-up invuln. And then when they get to melee, they'll get a ton of value from Strength 5, because I had Helbrecht. They'll get a ton of value from Strength 5 chainswords. And so this is my theory, and it did not work. You just completely demolished me. And then you did again in the game against Adrian on the live stream. And the other data point was Sarah played a game against Brian at the booth at LVO, and she's like number 5 in the world, I think, Black Templar player, and she had the same experience.
Knows her stuff.
She was like, she brought the meta list, the Redemptor, 3 Redemptors, 5-up invuln, and just died. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is.
Not a helpful answer.
It's neither of those things. So my answer is join the greater good.
Yeah, just play Tau.
Just acknowledge that the Empire has superior technology, that they are and that they're benevolent overlords, and they have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And submit to the greater good.
So I will say in my game last night against Adrian, for members, if you're a member of Tabletop Titans, that game is there. Tuesday night game.
I spoiled it already. Sorry.
Yeah, so spoilers about to happen. If you don't want to hear what happens, Brett really didn't actually quite spoil it. So real quick, spoilers. Go mute me. If you don't already mute me, if you already don't mute Hobby Titans whenever I'm talking, mute me now. Okay, in that game, I think Adrian was down to a few models, but he won on objectives. And I think I made a big mistake, but I think will be something that Tau is. It is one of their weaknesses is going to be holding primary points.
Right.
So,
for sure.
I would say anything tough that can hold primaries.
Deny the Tau their primary.
Yeah.
And try to get as many secondaries as you can, and then. And that's, I think, the path to victory.
Something like a character that can't be targeted unless it's the closest or something like that could be helpful. Anything that could, maybe be easy to easy to prevent from being targeted, because they do have. I did a lot of work with smart missile systems, which don't need line of sight, and so I think like primaries is going to be how you do it. I think.
Yeah, you win on objectives. You don't try to outkill them.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
You know, this is the other thing that I observed from that game, and also from my game with you, is, it has always historically been the case that if you're an assault army, you want to make it into melee to sort of save yourself from the Tau, because Tau historically have not been able to shoot at you once you get into melee. That is absolutely not the case anymore. Anything with the battlesuit keyword can just stand and blast while they're in melee. They got the ability to shoot while in combat. And so melee is not this like safe space anymore.
No. It turns out smashing in your enemy with swords and point blank range, not a safe space.
Yeah, it doesn't help you survive to be in melee with them. Obviously, if you don't have any guns yourself, you might want or need to get into melee to do damage. That might be a reality, but like, it doesn't also protect you against the Tau shooting to be in melee. So that was a I guess in theory I knew that, but like sort of seeing the extent of it in action, like I charged a squad of crisis suits with 5 Vanguard veterans. You overwatched and killed 2 on the way in. And then,
it was actually normal Overwatch. I wasn't even...
Yeah, you weren't even buffing your Overwatch. It was just normal hitting on 6s.
Yeah.
And then I killed like 1 crisis suit with the return attacks. And then you, in your next turn, killed all the Vanguard veterans by just standing still and shooting at them.
Yeah. Like in a way that was like almost like pick them up.
Comically easy.
Yeah.
This was like one of the best assault units in the game, and I was like, yes, I got in there, I did it, I made the charge.
Yeah, that's actually the opening quote in the codex. It says, "Hey, you want to pick those up?" And then it says, "You," in all your games. Yeah.
Who said this quote?
Yeah.
You did.
This is your quote.
You will say it. You will say it in all your games.
The quote at the front of the book is from you.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to have to die. John is saying die as slowly as possible.
Yep.
That's thing 1 to do. Die as slowly as possible.
That's right.
And that's it. And yeah.
But listen, you're not wrong.
But here's the thing. I said last night on Tabletop Times repeatedly that I think we've got a crew here that are great competitive players. We know there's lots of competitive players. This is going to get figured out.
It's going to get figured out.
People will figure it out.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it after the stream or before the stream yesterday. I think there's this like Tau sort of kill anything that pops out, and exposes itself, and anything that gives you, if you give something line of sight to the Tau player will kill it.
Right.
And so you're incentivized to like hide, right? As much as you can.
Which I'm going to say real quick before you go on.
Yeah.
Narratively, like I love it because I love it because like it is super narrative. Like these guys pop out and like this horde of aliens that are like very coldly efficient, just like turn and like marker light it and it just disappears and they just like keep walking forward slowly. And I know you're like, oh, that sounds more like Necrons, but like, no, Necrons have all this like maniacal laughter and Machiavellian stuff going on. Like everything else in 40K is like you hop out and they like point at you and like
charge at you,
say a prayer first and let you understand that you're gonna die and stuff. And like all this like
make you feel bad about
yourself. All these other things. Drukhari, you're like, oh no, let's not kill him. Oh, let's torture him.
Take
first.
him back to the prison. And then torture
every
them.
other faction has like this weird like agenda with your with your body, with your soul and mind. And Tau and like Tyranids are just like, hey, you're dead. Tyranids in close combat, Tau are like, hey, over there. And then just like everyone shoots, all right, let's keep going. Like so it does have that feel. Narratively, that's cool. Gameplay-wise, it's going to have to get figured out. I think people will figure it out.
Well, I think the thing is, like, if you're incentivized to hide everything, the Tau player is then incentivized to bring a lot of indirect, and there is a lot of indirect in the list in the book, and so I think there's going to be this like, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of army that starts popping up in competitive play, where it's like, 50% of my army shoots and removes 2 units a turn, whatever like pops its head out. And the other 50% of my army is all indirect. And even if you don't pop your head out, I'm just like raining smart missiles and seeker missiles and air bursting fragmentation projectors and all of these like just really, really, some of it's really punishing, others it's just chip damage, but you get enough of it and it adds up.
Yeah.
And it got better in the new book. There's AP1 and there's extra range and there's, strats and things like that, ignore cover. And so it's like, wow, what do I do against an army that can just sit back and, well, I guess you take the primary and you try to play your own game and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be hard. There's going to have to be a lot of innovation that happens.
So, should we check in with you? What are you up to?
So I've got my my aerial mounted, and I've got my magnets inserted in my seeker missile, and now I'm starting to look at where I want to put the magnets in the Devilfish chassis, or I guess the Hammerhead chassis. And it looks like, because I want the tip of the missile to just kind of poke out the front of the vehicle. So I'm looking sort of at something that looks kind of like that in terms of fore-aft placement. And it looks like I'm actually just going to kind of center these two magnets on this feature right here. So like kind of one there and one there, something like that. And I'll just have to eyeball the spacing because I didn't measure this beforehand, but that's fine. We're in the ballpark. That's what I'm doing.
Meanwhile, over here, I'm decaling up my piranhas. Our friend Chris has left a lot of nice wide open space for me to do that with, for me to do that. And I have a ton of Tau decals. I even have some weird Tau decals, like the ones that came with the box. I think it was actually called Cloud Strike, which I used a callback to earlier in the stream.
Oh, is that the one that was like all planes? Oops,
yeah,
all
it was
planes?
like Oops All Planes, and they're like the box sets with the the Tau one had the Tau and the Necron flyer.
Yeah.
And
they came with their own decal sheet?
They came with their own decal sheet.
No way.
And so this is like an italicized Tau font, Tau letter thing that I'm about to do.
I love it.
So kind of excited about that on the sides of these two piranhas.
It was like, what was that game? It was like, what was it called? Skies of Fire or something?
I thought it was called Cloud Strike.
Was it Cloud Strike? That was the name of the box. I thought
okay.
it was like the name of the Tau Necron box was called Cloud Strike.
Oh, no, the Tau Necron box was called, they all had like goofy names. Like, I think the Tau Necron one was like Ancient Evil versus Greater Good or something like that.
No.
Pretty sure the Orc Eldar one was called Beauty and the Beast.
Are you serious?
No, but it was something very much like that. Someone in chat can let me know. But it's really close to Beauty and the Beast. It's like very. It's
every time I think I'm like, oh, I figured Zach's sarcasm out.
No, it was
You're
really
like, Beauty and the Beast. And I'm like, what? Really? Like, no.
It's really close to Beauty and the Beast. Thanks again, Liberty Fires. He says, my Tau army will be all suits, no troops, since I secretly want to play Gundam or Battletech. That's a Q3 plan, however. Clan Wolf in exile forever.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's referencing the clans that we were talking about earlier from Battletech.
Oh, okay. The space clans?
Yes, the space clans. Yeah. Oh, look, I just did it. I literally just did it. I had this aerial on the tank. I flipped it over to drill this hole and pressed down, and I heard this noise, and I was like, oh my God, did I break my aerial? Nope, it just popped off.
I actually really love...
Literally already has proved its worth.
I love the use of magnets, not as like something that needs to be magnetized, but as like you're doing here. Like, hey, this is probably going to break, and when it does break, let's make sure it doesn't really break. Yeah. Kind of a situation.
Yep.
Or like storage or travel solutions.
Right.
I think like it's kind of a cool use for magnets.
The first time, so this is my first time doing this on a Hammerhead chassis or Devilfish chassis. I did it for the aerials on my Barracuda as well.
Okay.
The same way, and that's where I sort of learned that this was like a great thing to do, because those aerials, like, that's a resin kit.
Yeah.
And so those aerials are even more fragile.
Those aerials come broken half the time.
These ones, like, at least if you were to, if it did break, if you glued it and it broke, you could glue it back and it would, be durable, because you could use plastic glue and it'd be fine.
Yeah. Thank you, NGU Meister, New Meister. Newmeister. Hey Titans, excited for Tau and anxious for the codex. Do you have any advice for shading large areas like devilfish and hammerheads? My shading always ends up streaking, and in Airbrush it ends up chalky. Thank you. Okay, great question.
Yeah, you're going to be doing a little bit of this here today, right?
I think I already have.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If your paint is coming out chalky, that could be that you're using white over too dark of a color. So, in other words, sorry, let me rephrase that. More generally speaking, it may mean that you have leapt too many colors up. So, for example, your first color is like a dark navy, let's say. And by the way, Newmeister, if you're in chat, let me know like the color scheme, and I can like chat about it with those colors. But let's say you had blue colored Tau, and you started with like a dark blue. You would probably want to go at least two other colors before you then hopped into something like very, very light blue or even white.
Yeah.
And frankly, I went through the process here. You can see this process a little more short and tight in the Dark Strider video that we put out on Saturday. But I don't have the chalky look because I've gone from Caliban green to Cerbite green to and this is actually really important for breaking up chalkiness, a 1-1 mix of Cerbite green and I think I always forget how it's pronounced, Uthron gray, and then I do Uthron gray. Okay, and then, yeah, actually that's it. So what you might be doing, for example, if I removed this guy, I think it'd probably look a little chalkier. So in other words, like the color, this is always, Brett and I use this term, the color that the thing is. Whatever the color that the thing is, in between the color that the thing is and the highlight color, try to make a mix like that of the highlight color.
That's a great point.
Okay, he says he uses dark gray base and then ran Drakenhof Nightshade through the airbrush. Oh, well, so Drakenhof Nightshade is gonna make your dark gray even darker.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is okay. So now that's your base. Your base is a really dark grayish blue.
Yep.
So what you now need to do is probably build up grayish blues that are progressively lighter and lighter. And I'm thinking immediately the Space Wolf line of colors.
Right.
If that's kind of what you're going for.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, even if you're like, oh, I don't want my Tau to be the Space Wolf color, if you're being very careful and you're kind of get your flow good on your airbrush, make sure it's coming out not too opaque, you can then not have it be the Space Wolf color, and the Space Wolf colors are going to be your highlight. But again, you probably first want to start the darkest Space Wolf color. I think it's called the Fang. So you want to do like the Fang right after that, and then you want to do I think Fenris gray or whatever, and then even get up to like almost, I think this color would even be good because it's like a cool gray, Uthron gray, as your kind of final highlight. But again, before this, I would do like a 1-1 mix of this and Fenris.
Yeah, that's good advice. Do you want to switch to the gland cam? Because my hammerhead there is actually sort of a gray color.
Oh yeah. And talk about how you did this.
Yeah, so that is, I misplaced something in it. It's got to be right in front of me, and you have that like moment where you just put super glue on something. Sorry, I'm changing the subject, and then you like need to act quickly, and then
that's happening
you
right
can't
now.
Find the tool. I'm like, where's that thing that I did, and I just put the super glue, and I need to find it. Yeah, so that tank is maybe I guess I'm asking is that sort of the look you're going for? You have sort of a dark gray, but then you have sort of light shading or highlighting on the on certain parts of it.
Brett has a very neutral gray here,
right?
So not like the blue thing going on.
It's not. There's no blue in it, right? But this was done in one step, to your point, Zach. But maybe this gray is not as dark as the sort of starting point that they're starting with. And
no, I don't think so. Not if he's adding.
Right, if he's adding Drakenhof Nightshade.
Yeah, Drakenhof Nightshade is quite dark.
Quite a bit darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Vallejo Dark Gray is the base coat. And then the highlight color is medium sea gray. So
Medium C gray?
Yep.
Medium C.
Medium SEA.
Oh, okay.
Medium C.
Is medium C a word?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Medium C.
Well, not one word. It's two words.
MEDIUMCY?
Yes.
Medium C.
Medium chi.
C, just CY.
SEA.
SEA. Oh, medium C. Medium space C.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, we solved the riddle of what the color is that's on that.
Good luck, Newmeister. But I think in general, the thing that's going on is that you're going from too dark to too light.
Yeah, I think there's also a technique thing, like in order to get a light color on a dark model without it sort of splotching or because you really want like a very fine mist that coming out of your airbrush that won't, so you can't see the individual speckles, because those will really show up. And like you say, doing it in multiple steps, bringing the highlight color up gradually will help with that. But the other trick is just making sure your airbrush is really clean, starting the air off the model, and just like don't run the airbrush for too long without cleaning it, because any sort of buildup of gunk in there will cause a spatter, and then or cause this droplet size to increase, and then you'll be getting that effect that you're not trying to avoid.
Yeah. But good luck.
What is this we're looking at?
And I just wanted to
That's where the scissors go.
Yeah.
Right there.
Just wanted to
make sure that we were all aware.
We're
of where
all
the
aware.
Scissors go.
Just wanted that documented.
Document it.
On the internet.
Yep. That's great. Now there's no ambiguity.
Yeah, now there's no ambiguity. I can just be passive aggressive about it.
Yep.
It's great.
That's great. Yeah, that's what really matters the most, is that everyone knows that Zach's right.
Okay, so where are you at?
So I have, I put my two, you want to, oh gosh. I'm going to put my, zoom in on me here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got my two magnets embedded. I've got a little overage with the glue. So I was just going to try to sand that off a little bit. I'm going to touch up this. This model's mostly painted, but I'm going to touch up the paint a little bit after this, after today. And you can see my magnets stick, which is awesome. They don't, they're not a ton of force there, but it just needs to hold up the weight of a little plastic piece. And you can see, the missile is unpainted, but it just kind of pokes out a little bit there. So I'll add a little bit of white or something to the front of the missile, and it'll add a little bit of a splash of color to it. And so I'll do a second one there, and then if I'm running one missile or two missiles, I can just put however many missiles I'm running in the game, and then take them off as I use them.
Yeah, which is fun.
Then they just stick back on.
Super fun. That's so cool. When I first started playing Tau, I glued all my Seeker missiles to. This was back in like 2008. Is anyone else just like really enjoying watching the Seeker missile come on and off?
So I feel like people who like the Tau army.
Yeah.
Is people are drawn to the Tau army who appreciate magnets. Yeah. There's something about the Tau army and magnets that like that part of the brain is like engaged.
Yeah.
There's like, it's on the same chromosome.
It's on the Tau
people
army
who like magnets and people who like Tau, it's like the same.
We were talking about what makes somebody get into an army earlier. And do you think that people who are like, I'm a big fan of the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and they have a joke about, they asked Charlie what his hobbies are, his favorite hobby, and he says magnets.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean, collecting them, making them? He's like, no, man, just magnets.
Just magnets.
Do you think people are like, you know what, I really want to pick a 40K army because I want to play 40K.
Yeah.
But I really want to pick and play the army that is good at magnets.
Right.
And then they play Tau?
Then they play Tau. No, I think that the Tau, like people are drawn to Tau who are like, like clean lines. They like sort of order and a sense of purpose in the universe.
Yeah.
They're less like sort of more
Scissors
left,
put away, stuff like that.
left-brained,
Just like that
scissors
kind
put
of thing.
away,
Yeah,
all
just
of
that
that.
kind of stuff.
And magnets are also sort of order, and they snap together in a very satisfying way.
You know exactly where the thing that it's supposed to go, it goes there.
Right, because it doesn't go anywhere else,
Right.
because it would just be attracted to that.
Right.
That
It
place or
would
that
go
thing.
right back to
would
where
go right
it
back
comes
there,
from. Yeah.
I feel like we're talking about two different things.
No, we're talking about magnets.
Okay, not scissors.
No.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to move on. I did one secret missile. I'll take care of the other one later. I'm going to move on to the crisis suit next. And my plan for the crisis suit, so I've got this arm here. Actually, can you do one more level of... there we go. Okay. My plan for the crisis suit is to put a magnet in the hole here in the arm, and then put a magnet in the gun right here, and then those will be able to stick. And then after that, I'm going to do a hole in the backpack here on the shoulder for a shield generator. So you know, we talked about at the beginning about how I really like having my suits with all of the guns in one arm. So that leaves the other arm free in my head cannon for like
Punching.
battlefield engineering or self-defense, yeah, or you know, whatever. Pointing. You,
jumping
over there.
jumping and punching
enemy.
suspended blocks in the air, receiving coins.
That's right. Arms are useful for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the shoulders, I like to put missile pods on the shoulders, and I like to put shield generators and support systems on the shoulders. And so I'm going to put a magnet there as well. I need to go get my shield generator, because I've got it in a baggie over on the other side of the room.
Okay.
So I'm going to walk in front of the camera.
And while that's happening, I'm going to show you guys what I'm up to. I'm doing my my war paint, which I love to do, which means I'm using Druchii Violet, and I'm putting down like this big area where it's like the outer rim of the war paint. And next, I take on a vehicle. Actually, I first take a little what's called Chemos purple. Okay, I take a little Chemos purple here. Ooh, my Chemos purple is almost out. I think I have some more right here. No, it's this. Okay, so I'll probably use a little thinner right behind me. Put that in here just to get it going. Oh, it's coming out okay after a couple of shakes. But if you ever do need to kind of like reactivate some paint, I don't know if you guys know what I mean, right? Like when you're almost out of paint and you want it to just go a little further, put a little thinner in there. Okay, and then by the way, guess what brush I'm using, folks? This is the brush from when Adrian and I did the collecting like one brush thing. I hung on to him, and I don't know, it's kind of useful. So then I take this Chemos purple and I do like an inner layer here, like this. And this is like actually the paint, except that you know, the wash of Druchii Violet that's there, that's like where the paint has just over time through like, I guess what, capillary action or whatever, just kind of spread out.
Yeah.
Or washed off there or whatever it is, right? But it really kind of does help. When you do this, it does kind of help highlight. It makes it look more tribal, I think. So if you ever kind of look at how tribal paint works, there's often like this outer layer that is less opaque. And that's really what we're doing. So we're doing kind of like a thin transparent on the outer layer, then we're going in here.
Are you saying your vehicles have tattoos?
No, not tattoos. I actually do imagine that it's like paint that they put on.
I see.
Like right before the battle, or like a day before the battle, or something like that.
It's like an oath of moment.
And yes, I'm hesitant to use that term, but yes. And it dries all pretty quickly, and then finally after that we use the actual color of the paint, which is the Gene Sealer Purple. And we end up with these kind of hopefully somewhat realistic looking paints on my Tau vehicles, battle suits, even my fire warriors. I put this on.
And Kroot even too, right?
And Kroot, yeah. Kroot are the big wearers of
tribal paint.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too zoom. Okay, there we go.
Oh, you can do it again.
Unless you guys look at those knuckles.
So So I've got a magnet in the gun, and I've put some glue in there, and I'm just rotating the interface between the gun and the spatula that the magnet's attached to, just to make sure that the glue doesn't stick to the spatula while I'm waiting for the glue to stick the magnet into the gun barrel.
Guys, let us know. One other thing, we do have fan stuff we need to get to too. Oh my God, we have so much fan stuff also. It was crazy. But let us know in chat if you've noticed anything different with the lighting in today's hobby stream.
Yeah.
Like, is it better or is it worse than usual? Or is it the same? Better one, better two?
You can start a chat poll.
We actually could do better one, better two.
What does that mean?
Like when you go to the eye doctor and they're like, better one, better two, and they're like showing you like different things, and you're like, I don't know, maybe, you know, like.
No, I don't.
Brett, have you ever
Do you
been?
wear corrective lenses?
I have contacts in, yes.
Oh, okay.
You
I
don't?
didn't know it.
Have you never been to an optometrist?
I have, but I've never gotten glasses.
Okay.
This is like the
That's
one
like-
part of my body that works correctly.
That's like John.
My eyeballs. Yeah.
Oh, except for that part. That second part's not true.
John?
Yeah, burn John.
John's eyeballs don't work correctly?
No, just like.
Or he just-
well, he seems to think they don't. I'm pretty sure they do, but him and I like are horrible at focusing the dice cam on Titans games before the game.
Okay.
And then I did it yesterday with Bridger, and like we just did it in like a second, and it went really fast.
Okay.
So I think it's both in our heads.
Okay.
Yeah. Seems bright. Okay.
Is
Lighting
that a
is
good
better.
thing?
Melody says lighting is better. I mean, Melody's here most weeks, so
I trust her.
yeah. Yeah. Let's do some fan stuff. Oh, should I? Nah, we don't need to do a lighting poll. The
don't know.
the
No,
keyboard's
it's
too loud. Just in general, let us know. Okay, we do have we do have some super cool fan stuff today.
We
And
do.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's a lot because we didn't have a show last week, and I thought to myself that there's been times like when I was a kid and some weird kind. John, what's an eye doctor? Some weird kind of like logistical thing like prevented like. You were gonna do your book report and you're excited for it, and then like some weird logistical thing like, oh yeah, you'll just have to like hand your book report in, and, and you're like, what? I made a visual aid and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not cool. Like a lot of people do stuff, and then they're like, hey, maybe it'll go on Hobby Titans. I think a lot of people just putting it on Discord, they're not thinking about it going on Hobby Titans. But just in case people are, I want to go back 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I went back
Absolutely.
2 weeks, and
it was amazing.
that was in a way a mistake because just this past week had an insane amount of things.
It was crazy.
I think we say this every week, but this week, I mean it.
You guys really knocked it out of the park this week.
I do mean it every week, but I'm going to stand for a second just because I do need to set up one thing, fan slideshow. There we go. Okay. These guys are Death Guard riding something, and I don't even know, what would you use this as?
So I guess the way we tell that is by the base size, and
Okay.
it's sort of hard for me to tell the base size. Maybe a dreadnought.
A dreadnought? Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe what are those? The bloat drones with the flesh mowers.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but they look amazing. I love the colors. Like most Death Guard armies are just very sort of one gray, green, blah color.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it looks the part, like that's the way they're sort of
It kind of makes
supposed to look.
sense,
It
right?
makes
Right.
sense. But you end up, like when you sort of expect or accept that if you're going to start Death Guard, you're going to have a pretty sort of, you know, monochrome army.
Right.
And this looks amazing.
Not so much, right? Yeah. Super cool.
Is that like a fire coming out of that guy in the right's mouth? Or is that like a spell?
I think it's a
effect?
spell
Okay.
or puke.
Puke, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's puking. That
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense.
Super cool. Oh, Putrid Blight Kings from AOS.
Oh, this is an AOS model.
This is an AOS army.
Wow.
So an AOS player, starting this off right away by saying it's Death Guard really put us on a wild goose chase.
Right.
But we were never gonna find that goose. Okay, these are awesome, and I will say I actually haven't played. I haven't played any of the mortals from a Magican army yet. I haven't played against them. So I don't know a lot of the mortal stuff from Chaos. I'm excited to get some games in with those guys. Super cool orc in a one of their buggy things. I don't know. They have like a bunch of different buggies, right?
Scrapjet.
Yeah.
The Mecca truck, Rucka track, scrap buggy.
Yeah, one of those.
Rucka Mecca scrappy jet.
I mean,
buggy?
yes. Look, I'm gonna just keep saying yes.
I mean, you just made up 5 fake mechs. I'm sure
know.
we can make up some fake buggy names.
Fake orc buggies. No, this thing looks super cool. I love the little pilot. I love the details on the pilot.
Yeah, it's like super World War II fighter ace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. And honestly, I kind of love orcs in that style.
Yeah.
I think like I don't always love like pirate orcs or chef orcs or like firefighter orcs. But if you go back and do orcs, yeah, like people like to do like weird things with orcs,
but
right?
Firefighter orcs?
I don't know.
That's not a thing.
I've never seen firefighter orcs, but I'm not like they're. Look, come on, guys, help me out here. There's
optometrist orcs. Just for John.
An entire army of optometrist orcs that doesn't exist. Somewhere there is a firefighter orc.
No.
Okay, well look, someone in chat is already searching firefighter orc.
Somewhere there's also an optometrist orc. If that's the case.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well. That we should do a poll. Hey chat, what do you think is more likely to exist? Firefighter orc or optometrist
And then follow-up question, John, would you go to see an optometrist orc if not an optometrist?
Yeah, not a real optometrist.
Would you go to see an optometrist if it was an orc?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you put one? Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's move on. Look, it was amazing. This model's so crazy good. Like, this is just like a diorama, like high-level paint job on this thing.
The lighting there is amazing.
Yep.
The highlighting is amazing. Yeah, this is great. And the face, we talked about how hard faces are. This face, like if you zoom in on this picture, the face is
good.
Sort of
really good.
It's like a whole model's worth of effort just on
that face. Yeah.
That's great.
Super crazy good.
I don't really know what to say about it. I can't really offer any criticism other than just, I love it. It's great.
The criticism is that it's really very quite great.
But the criticism is, do you have an army that is all painted to that standard? Because
yeah,
I can't imagine that.
That'd be great.
That's like an opus.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your life's work at that
exactly.
point.
This is quite good. Okay, next we've got these guys. Okay, I want to talk about these guys. I thought that these guys look crazy good. They're like night fighting Gene Stealer cults. Now, what I do think I would say about this is this looks like a very fast paint scheme. And I think it is. And I think it's a great way, great narrative way. And they've done a really strong job of doing what they did. Like they did, you know, it's an efficiency. They said, if I paint a Gene Stealer cult army at night, I can take the airbrush quite a far away, or whatever techniques they're using. This could have been done with a ton of dry brushing as well. And I don't think so because the OSL, right, on the glow effect on the light looks airbrush to me. But either way, it doesn't matter. It's just a lot of value out of some great techniques. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I think a whole army like this is going to look quite stunning. I'd be interested in seeing how vehicles got done.
Yeah.
But I'm super into this.
Can I stop you for a sec, Zach?
Yes.
I have a teachable moment.
Oh, okay. Let's. I love a good teachable moment.
So I did the thing that I was trying hardest to not do, which was like I put the magnet in the gun that matched the rest of my army, and then I was very careful to try to put the magnet in the receiver on the arm to match it, and they don't match. Look, they repel and it sticks sideways. So now I have to try to, like, the question is, do I just throw away this arm? Or
throw away the whole model?
Throw away the whole model, which is what you would probably do.
Probably what I would do.
Probably what you would do, yeah. Or do I try to extract this magnet? And I'm going to try to extract the magnet. I'm going to just kind of describe my plan for this, because this is like, it's non-trivial, especially if you want to try to not destroy your model.
Yeah.
And so the plan is, I'm basically going to drill a tiny hole right next to the magnet, maybe even 2 of them, just to try to break up some of the sort of surface contact area between the magnet and the sidewall of the model. And then once I've got a little hole in there, I can stick a small tool in that hole and try to pry out the magnet. And so It's going to damage the area around the weapon as I'm trying to get this out. But if so you just kind of have to accept that there's going to be some damage, and the ultimate goal is to just try to minimize that damage. And again, we're acknowledging that there's something that's going to cover this this face. There's a weapon that goes on top of here, and so a little bit of damage is okay, and we can fill whatever gaps or holes or damage is left over with putty if we really want to when we're done. So that's what we're going to do. All right, now we can go back to fan stuff. I just wanted to describe my plan while we're finishing up the rest of this fan stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to mess up on stream sometimes, because if you mess up on stream, that means probably somebody has messed up.
Everyone does this. Everyone makes this mistake. This is very very common.
Right, and so I feel like now everybody knows how to commiserate with you and can have the same problems and same solutions, maybe.
Yeah.
Try your solutions.
Melody says that there's a thing called a polarity stick, which I've never heard of.
Oh yeah, digital designer as well. And I think I've
Oh.
seen this thing.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. I think I should look into it. But I sort of had my own version of a polarity stick that I was trying to use, but obviously I messed it up. So.
Okay. Fast forward, we are on the nighttime gene stealer calls.
Yes.
Oh. Sorry guys, moving a little bit of a camera around. I was on mute there for a second. Nighttime gene stealer call. Yeah, super cool. Just a great way to get an army on the table. And then they've done a lot of other things that after the airbrushing to touch in, and I think like you can then do this thing where you've got the airbrushing done, looks super cool, and then you can see they've touched in with the metal, and the base also goes a long way on this. So like to me, I see this army as something that the person doing it probably could have done quite quickly.
Yep.
And I like that because look, I mean, I want to spend a lot of time on some armies. I have some projects coming up that are going to be like big, like really labor of love projects.
Yeah, but not all the time.
But not all the time, right? Like I'm going to be spending a lot of time on my Daughters of Cain, but I'm not going to really be spending a lot of time on some Osiark Bone Reapers I've picked up recently. Like I didn't assemble them. In fact, the person who assembled them for me is bringing them by after the stream today. And meanwhile, like I wanted to be the one to assemble the Daughters and everything. So you cannot always put everything you have into every army. And when you don't do that, you got to figure out super cool techniques, and here it is. This is one of them.
I like this.
Nighttime gene stealer.
It's an effective look, and first I looked at that when I saw that picture for the first time, I was like, oh wow, those guys are fighting at night, which is like actually what Gene Stealer Cult would probably do. They'd probably fight at night. You know?
And I do want to make one thing super abundantly clear. This is an amazing paint job. So all the chat about, it was also done quick and efficiently is not like
not a dig.
It's not like an offhanded compliment. This looks sick. I want to see the rest of this army. I definitely want to see vehicles in this style. Okay, moving forward. This thing, speaking of vehicles, just, I don't know, super cool. This is one of those fan things where we just say, really quite very cool. Great.
Yep.
Really quite very cool, great.
I love it.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It
looks the way Death Guard are supposed to look. Or is that Death? It's like Demon Engine, right?
Yeah. I think it looks. They've leaned into green away from purple. You were talking about the different colors people use.
Yeah.
Those were not Death Guard, but that still holds true for most Nurgle forces, right? And these guys leaned into the green. I love the green OSL. I think that's what that is. Yep, from the gun and the eye lens there on the green, muted green. I kind of like that look, if I'm honest. Super cool. Nice and clean for Death Guard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. A flamer of Zinch.
Zinch, yeah.
And this is Broken Chef, and he had a lot of cool pictures up. This was my favorite picture, and I don't know, this looks great. It's kind of crazy. Broken Chef's been posting a lot of his stuff up recently. He started off pretty good. He's gotten quite very good, great, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This looks amazing.
Yeah.
The flame effect is great. The effect on the flamer, the on the demon itself is great.
Yeah. Turns out, if you do something a lot, you get good at it really fast. And I think that I've seen that with Broken Chef because he posts his stuff all the time. This looks super cool. This is I think the coolest thing I've seen of his.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't I don't know. It looks like an illustration, right? Doesn't it look like I would expect?
Yeah.
This almost sounds like a weird thing to say, but I almost feel like I would open up a children's book,
A picture book,
kind of like a gothy children's book style thing, and see this style of. Yeah, it looks like an illustration. It's super cool. Yeah, it's very stylistic, in a great way. I love it. Some bases. I like these bases. Crystals. Use of crystals on here. Meg is actually gonna be doing some crystals on a Soulblight Gravelord army for her bases. I may be doing some on my daughter's Arcane army. I actually got some glow-in-the-dark crystals.
What?
To see if they would be cool in my army bases.
What was your?
I'm not so sure. I don't know.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I'm not sure. Yeah. My thinking is the problem with glow-in-the-dark crystals on bases on Warhammer minis is that we usually play in lightly lit areas.
Yeah, you don't really play Warhammer in the dark.
In the dark. And it turns out, it's interesting because that's when glow-in-the-dark stuff looks best.
Right.
Right.
When it's night?
When it's dark. When it's dark.
Yeah.
But it does still glow in the day.
What?
It just doesn't look good. A lot of people don't know that, but it turns out not knowing that would have saved me from buying those crystals. So in this case, it's one of those situations where I knew too much for my own good. However, these look great. They're not glow in the dark, and I think I'm gonna have to do something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, those crystals look amazing. I like the variety in the color, but they all look like they belong together, you know? They're like sort of different themes on the same sort of palette of colors.
Yeah. And I don't know that I'm gonna do multiple colors, but kind of like you're saying, it kind of works. I don't know. I love it. Super cool. The rest of the base, by the way, awesome as well. Important. This guy, Brad, what is this model from?
I have no idea.
It's like this guy harvesting the Space Marine gene seed stuff.
Is that like a?
I'm so bad at Imperial
Is that a Gene
models.
Stealer model?
No, I don't think so.
Gene Stealer call?
Is it a Drukhari model?
Is it like a dark apothecary of some kind?
Yeah. It's super cool.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's super cool. I don't know. Somebody in chat probably knows.
It might be, yeah, I don't know. It might be a conversion. If it is, it's a really good one.
If it isn't, it's a really good paint job. And if it is, it's also a really good paint job. And it looks really cool. If somebody knows what this is, let me know. Let us know. This is great. Okay, we've got, this is Legal T. Legal T's been working on this army for a little while now. More and more, he's cranking stuff out fast, which is always, frankly, my favorite. When just an army comes together like out of nowhere, seemingly. And that's what's going on here. Custodes, of course, a good army to do that with, because you don't need a ton of models. But I feel like Legal T already has more than 2,000, so based on what he's been posting up and chatting about, it's really cool to see this come together.
Yeah, their custodies are really, really great. The purple and the gold look so good together.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's amazing. Really nice. I like the purple top here on the bike.
All right, can I pause for a sec?
Yeah.
And show my progress? So I extracted the magnet. You can see here the sort of level of damage that I was able to hold it to. There's some, I had to drill 3 holes around the edge, and I got it out. So I'll put a new magnet in there. I don't even know that I'll need to patch the 3 little tiny holes that I drilled with any putty, although I could if I decided I wanted to. But once there's a weapon on that mounted in that receiver, you won't even see any of that. So I think it's good. I think we're in a good spot.
I would like. What if we had come back and like you were missing a finger and there's just like blood all over the place?
Blood everywhere.
Yeah. And like you were
the model
totally
was
quiet.
Like 12 pieces.
You were like totally quiet the whole time. Like while we were going through fan stuff.
There's like a giant hammer and like model and like resin bits.
And it's just like you're just like okay, so we finally got
cool.
this.
We got the magnet out.
Moving on. Okay, back to fan stuff. We have to go through all of these awesome fan things. Poor us. Look at these. So good. Okay, where were we? Where were we? Crystals. This guy. We don't know who this guy is.
He goes with Fabius Bile.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, he's like a chaos culty guy.
He's not Fabius Bile, but he's like
helper,
his assistant. Yeah.
Okay, love it.
Which makes sense.
Legal tease. This guy. Oh, super cool chronomancer. Some kind of cryptech.
Yeah, it's a mancer of some kind.
Yep. Really cool, super cool model when done well. Both of those things happening right here.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I do love the Necron characters, the little Necron character. I think everybody does. Everybody loves the techs, the cryptechs. All the models are so cool. They're so dioramic in that they always have like these. I don't know. You just kind of see what they're up to. This I think is actually the older Finecast one. I don't know. I think this one was only in Finecast. I might be wrong. And it still holds up. They've really replaced it with like a few different plastic ones that are different types, Chronomancer, Psychomancer, just the different ones. Plasmancer, whatever, just the different ones, right? I think this is actually the old Finecast one, if I'm correct. And
how can you tell?
It's just old. This one's just old.
It's a different sculpt?
Yeah. I think this is the one that when the book, like I'm going to say 2011, just introduced the concept of a cryptech. I think this was like the first model for that. But I might be wrong. It might also be plastic. There's probably somebody that knows this information. And I think people nowadays use it as like kind of any cryptech.
Got it.
Yeah. I think I have that information right. Super good.
Yeah, looks
okay,
great.
this guy's so cool. So I forget his name, but this is one of the skirmish game. One of the skirmish games from Sigmar has this character. I'm assuming he's going to be having rules in Sigmar too. I have an Ogre army. I don't think I'm going to use this guy for.
Is he the trapper?
No, that's the guy I had. This guy's like a pirate.
The pirate?
But what I love about this pirate, there isn't like old man crushers. Bridger has some of these models, and like the pirate has like the ridiculous like pirate hat on. He's got the parrot on him.
And there's the samurai one.
Yeah, and those are like too much for me.
Right.
But this guy is actually like a coastal raider type dude. Like that's in his story, not just like, hey, I look like a pirate. I look like I'm dressing up like Jack Sparrow for Halloween. But he's scary looking. This guy painted him so scary. He almost looks undead. Like the eyes red. I love like the ill health looks. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you, folks, Evangeline and Ty. That's right. There was like a weird AdMech. Was there like a weird AdMech Necron box at some point or something like that? And he is plastic. I think he still was an early guy, the Technomancer. Yeah. Yeah, super cool model. But this guy's so cool. I think I want to grab him if I ever add a Gutbusters component to my Beast Claw Raider army. I think, and I have a Tyrant. I think I want this guy to be my Tyrant. I don't love the existing Tyrant model. It's kind of old. And he looks like, the existing Tyrant model looks like he like went into a junkyard and like dressed up in a, like took apart a like a VW Beetle and like dressed up in it. And this guy just looks hip. And the pirate thing is kind of there, but like I have an Arctic army, I could do things to this guy to make him fit and have like the coastal Arctic feel.
Yeah.
Right? This paint job is killer. I love the eyes. The eyes are great.
Yeah, there's so many components to it too with all the sort of his friends.
Yes. Yeah,
they all have their own personality.
Yeah, little Noblars following around. Okay, cool. Another like, how far can we go with like just a few techniques thing?
Right.
Oh my gosh, what are these guys called? We always forget.
Is this an AOS unit?
No, this is the from the Court of the Archon. They're like the little. Adrian just like played some against me.
Drukhari.
Yeah, Drukhari. They're like the. I always forget what they're called. They're like little jerks.
Oh yeah, that unit.
They're the little jerks.
Little jerk unit.
Yeah, of all the units in the Drukhari army, these guys are the jerks.
The jerkiest.
The jerkiest.
I see. Well, they look great. and it looks like, this to me is like, if I had to paint an entire army in 3 months or something, this is a combination of techniques that looks really good and striking and compelling, but I imagine is probably pretty quick to achieve.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks great. Yeah. I love it.
I'm into it.
Love it, love it. Super cool. Moving on, we've got, so...
Ghouls.
Ghouls, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, folks. So, super beautiful. I love this color scheme.
It's Tau month.
Yeah, I love this
Tau
color
week.
scheme. I love the kind of the pink going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy good.
Tau are like one of these armies that you can really lean into some pretty crazy color schemes if you want to.
And you can do like any color, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I like that about them. I mean, you can do any color on any army, but Tau have like a little bit more freedom natively in their lore.
Yeah.
To promote that. You kind of think of what kind of world are they camouflaging in, and when you start thinking about what kind of worlds are out there in the 41st millennium,
there's a lot of them.
Your imagination is the limit, right?
Yep. Totally.
So yeah, super cool. I love them. And there's actually kind of like a husband-wife duo on here posting, and we'll see a couple more, or one more at least of theirs. And I can't remember whose is what, but this is one of them. And they actually did Tau in a bunch of different color schemes.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and they all kind of, I think blue is always the secondary color in all of them. But then there's like a different primary color. There's like a yellow one. And quite frankly, the paint jobs are just amazing. It's just great work.
That's awesome.
Okay, moving on. Cicero art. Oh man, there's so many pictures of these Custodes. And if I'm honest,
Jungle Custodes.
They posted so many, and so it's kind of I had to pick one picture. They even had a picture just of their bases, and that picture alone of the bases, I almost was like, I really want to put, like the base picture was like 3/4 top down kind of a look.
Yeah.
And you could see the base just like so awesome. But I felt like if Cicero art had like tuned in and saw that I only posted their bases, they'd be like, okay, so I wanted to show the Custodes themselves,
yeah,
which also
just look amazing.
Coincidentally look great, but those bases.
I really like the bases. Oh, I just did the thing you said. I stabbed myself and probably gonna start bleeding here.
Should we get top down on that?
Today's not my day, guys.
You guys want to see Brett bleed on stream?
It's not my day.
Screamers is Zinch, done very well, done quite very well, cool. Again, awesome colors. Zinch, another just faction where you can kind of go crazy with colors.
Yeah.
But there's like a little bit more of like a precedent.
That's their thing.
Of like lots of pink, lots of blue, lots of purple. And that's what these guys have, a classic, well done Zinch Screamer situation here.
This is, wonderful.
Yep.
Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on clear flying stand bases?
Clear?
Well, I know your thoughts because I know you've painted a lot of drones this week.
I like clear.
You don't paint the base.
I don't,
the bottom of the base.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have, why is that?
Oh, I don't know.
Because then they blend into whatever their table they're on better? Is that it?
I don't know. I don't like the way that...
less work?
I have done it before. I don't like the way it looks. Like if I... it just stands out from my other bases, if that makes sense, like in a weird way.
Because it's a different shape base?
I guess, yeah. It doesn't have the rim.
Yeah.
It looks...
yeah, because you paint your base rims.
Yeah, I paint my base rims, so it's kind of a weird look. It doesn't match the rest of my army. Soups with some Nurglings. Soup's also cranking out models at a breakneck speed. And also, I say this every week because we post a Soup's model almost every week. Because he posts a model with his name on it almost every week. And
that's the key.
That's a big one. And yeah, getting super good, super quick. I love it.
And also, Soups is working on a huge variety of armies, it seems. I feel like every week we feature one of his models, it's a different faction.
Yeah, it does seem like that. I haven't exactly thought about that, but now you mention it, you're right.
It's got he's got Custodes, I think we've seen, and we've seen
Was it Blood Angels? There's red. There's some red Marines.
He's got yellow Marines too. He's got Imperial Fists.
There's some red Marines, some yellow Marines. Yeah. I've said before on stream, all over the place, that if GW has a not necessarily coolest, but I'll use the phrase most beautiful army in any game system of theirs, it's going to be the Lumineth from Age of Sigmar. And these guys right here are just like, that's right, like these are the basic troops. So
It looks
like,
so good.
yeah, I mean like this army is just, the sculpts are beautiful. And if you do a good job on painting it, which I don't think is an easy task, I actually think it's a challenging army to paint. I think that you're gonna win a lot. You're gonna win a lot of painting, like best paint it, just like showing up at a RTT, like you're just gonna win because it's a beautiful army. I don't know. I don't know that there's a more beautiful army out there in 40K or Sigmar.
The models are great. Yeah, the sculpts are amazing, and this paint job really does it justice. You know.
Yeah, they just benefit from great basing. Wow. Which has happened here.
Yeah.
The white is great. The shading is amazing. It's great.
There's so many opportunities for sort of showcasing different impressive techniques with shading, like you said, shading and edge highlighting. And there's metallic bits and there's cloth bits and there's, and there's feather. Is that feather? Are those caps feathers?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just a regal, elegant looking army, man.
Yeah,
they just look great.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done. We did all the fan stuff.
Love it.
That was a crazy week for fan stuff because there's a lot of it, and it was really good. I was having to cut back. I think ultimately there were 18 or 19 or something like that I did. Typically we do like 10 or 12.
Right.
So I know that there's more than 1 week that we were gone, but or just 1 week, excuse me, that we're gone. 2 weeks since our last show. But thank you guys, incredible stuff. Brett, as we move along here,
Yeah.
how are we doing?
So I made a second mistake. I got the magnet out, and then in the process of gluing it back in, I got glue everywhere. I put way too much glue in, and
Are you suggesting too much glue is a mistake?
yeah,
Okay.
this is actually, and this is one of the reasons. I think I'm not blaming it on your super glue container, but I'm just not used to, like learning
how to use a container. Let's get a look at this container.
How hard to this one?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Your standard container.
Learning how hard you have to squeeze it and what happens when it comes out. Does it come out in a big drop or a little drop, and where does it sort of tend to pool along the tip of the dispenser and blah blah blah, like all that stuff. I don't know any of that for this one, so. I got too much glue. It went everywhere. I tried to dab it up with a paper towel. That didn't really work. Anyway, and I'm trying to because here's the deal, right? Like this weapon, it is magnetically attracted, but it doesn't really sit flush, if you can see, right? Like there's a little gap there. Mm-hmm. That's gonna bother me. So I'm kind of on the fence about what I should do about this. I think I actually might end up
throwing the whole thing away.
Throwing the whole thing away. Yeah.
Classic.
At some point.
Classic.
No, just snipping off the arm that I put on this guy. I've got another set of arms over here that I can use, but for now we'll leave it, and I'll decide. I'm going to sleep on it. Always a good decision. Before you go and throw everything away and start over, sleep on it. And then see how you feel in the morning.
Thank you, Michael Jennings. I have a question about the Aplung 502 metallic oil paint you recommended a couple weeks back. I don't know how to pronounce that word. That's an Adrian and Cat word, the name of this company.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, it's not even a Brett word. Brett, you going to attempt the name of this?
Nope.
Okay. Are you using it straight out of the tube, or are you thinning it? If so, how much? Yeah, I do thin it, Michael Jennings, but it also sort of depends. But it is quite thick, I can guess that's why you're asking this question.
Yeah.
When those artist acrylics come out of the tube, they're quite thick. I think I find that I've mostly been thinning it. And if I'm honest, I have mostly just been kind of wet palette thinning it, which basically means with water. I'm not using a thinner or anything. Wet palette thinning is my favorite way to thin most of my paints. that's what I've been doing with that. I've only been using the metallic like you're asking about, and I've been using their white a lot as well for things because the coverage is so good for a brush paint. But yes, I have been thinning it primarily. But you know, practice, and if you don't have a wet palette, this is really what you really got out of this super chat. I hope is me telling you to go get a wet palette because it's going to be that paint I feel like really benefits from having a wet palette.
All right, you mind zooming in on me a sec, Zach? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I've got my Crisis bits here, and just as a reminder, I'm going to. My goal is to put this on the shoulder. And so what I want to do is, these bits come with a little nub on the bit so that they can just kind of friction fit into the slot on the jetpack. So, you know, a lot of people, if you're not into magnetizing, you can just put the bit into the slot that's on the jetpack, and it'll just friction right there. And so what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be magnetizing these, is I want to the first step is to cut off that little piece. So I'm going to just kind of slice off that little bump, and then replace it, drill a hole, and then insert a magnet there. So that's where we're at. So here we go.
This is like surgery.
It kind of is. And this is, I mean, I've already cut myself once. So we gotta.
And we've got a nice view of it if it happens again, folks. He's going blade right towards the thumb.
I know. Oh my gosh.
We love it. Look at that. Oh, he almost got himself. Almost got up. Here we go. Guys, should we try to make Brett laugh while he's doing this?
We got it.
We got it. Not so hard.
I think the trick is if you sort of slice, you know, you get some motion forward and back with the knife, then you don't need as much force, and so you don't end up cutting yourself when it completes. All right, so I'm going to smooth this off.
Sanding sticks, which we love. We haven't seen those on the stream in a little while.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we do love these sanding sticks. Brett bought about 1 million of them, I want to say a year ago. I think it was a pack of 1 million.
Pack of 1 million sanding sticks?
1 million sanding sticks. And they're now everywhere in the Bay Area because of Brett.
I've given them a bunch of them away.
Yeah.
And so they've found homes in places they might not otherwise have. So I'm doing a small hole, a pilot hole first. And then I'm going to change out my collet for the big drill bit.
Yeah, no, Nox Minis mentions that you could have maybe used a clipper for that little piece.
That's a good thought. Thank you for the suggestion. That's a great idea. I'll do that on the next one.
I think I looked over and saw his comment, and when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's what I've done in the past. But you know what? Sometimes you're just like in hobby knife mode. You're using the hobby knife for everything else. So you're like, hey, what else can I do with my hobby knife right now? Either way, it did work, right? Oftentimes, we get to the same solution in different ways, but sometimes we get there different amounts of fingers.
That's right. Yeah, I've got 2 more bits here that I want to do. The missile pod and then this target lock piece. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to use the clippers.
I also will say this. If there's one man that you can convince to get a tool out and use the tool.
A specialized tool.
It's Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've already got them out. They're just sitting here.
Right.
I just didn't think to use them.
Yeah.
So thank you for the suggestion.
And you know, it's funny, we were talking about you moving the blade towards your fingers, and everyone's like, oh, you're always supposed to move the blade away. And it is true. That is the safety lesson we take away. But sometimes, I don't know, you don't have the control. You just want to do it real quick.
In this case, it was if I were to do that, you wouldn't be able to see it because I would have had to hold it like this and cut it this way, and there would have been no
there would have been no
entertainment value.
No content, no entertainment value.
All right, so I'm going to clean up this edge, and then we'll just glue a magnet in there. Okay, cool.
Very nice. I'm like almost done some Tau Piranhas here.
Yeah, and then you've got your terrain to do, right?
I do. How far along are you, Brett?
I'm almost done with everything.
Oh, with everything. So
all
I don't
the
know.
things.
Maybe I won't get to terrain today. In which case, I don't know. We'll find a time to do it, for sure. Certainly, I should say. Oh, I bumped the table. Certainly, I should say if I don't get to demoing how I'm doing this today, I will get to demoing this board in the future, because this board's going to be something I work on for a little while in the upcoming months. So certainly we'll be.
We're going to get to see lots of content for this board on the channel.
And it's cool because it's, in a way, it's almost not a board. It's like an addition to a wilderness,
Right.
Which we've chatted about before.
Yeah, that's a great way to do sort of unique boards. Is you make sort of a natural setting first, which in this case is this autumn forest, and then you build a series of faction-specific buildings that you can put into that natural setting.
Yep.
And so you can play it just as a forest board with no buildings, or you can play it as a Tau facility in a forest, or you can play it as an Eldar, abandoned webway station in a forest.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways to do it if you go that route.
Yeah. Cool. So all that's left for me on these piranhas is a little bit of OSL.
Yep.
Glow effects.
Glow effect.
Which is kind of like my.
That's your thing, right?
That's kind of my cheat to get a bit of result and have things look super cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk over. I'm heading over to the studio right now, real quick. Gonna grab a hammerhead. I do want to have one nearby to make sure I'm matching my vehicles, keeping my vehicles consistent throughout my army.
Yeah.
I want everything to, look like it's supposed to. So grabbing a hammerhead, here he is. One thing you want to do, these guys don't have it. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have some OSL to do. My OSL recipe on my Tau is actually quite simple. It's kind of my first one. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to say, when you do this, make sure if you're doing something like this and you've airbrushed, this part will be green probably from your airbrush. You can see I actually went back with a brush and painted the vents black. It looks much better. Your thought process is, like if I don't do that, I can actually like skip a whole chunk of time of layer painting that I need to do. But I would strongly recommend it because the OSL is going to look way better against the black.
Yep.
And I can tell you that I have not done it. I didn't do it on my. I have some Barracudas.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it on them. They have these black vents on top as well.
Right. Yep.
And it's very noticeable. It looks different, and you can't see like it just looks better on top of the black. It breaks up the green.
For sure.
It just works so much better.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation.
Yeah. Strongly recommend that. Okay, so we have some vents that need a little bit of purple. This purple, by the way, is a Minotaur color. It's called Demon Skin. So we go in here with some Demon Skin.
So good. And you're able to get just in the center of that with the Sotar.
Yeah, with the Sotar, which is nice. We put a little bit there. We're going to put a little bit back here as well. Which means we do put a little bit on the wings. Not too much, but a little bit.
Yeah, and this is an interesting abstraction. I feel like Brian's Tau have some of this going on. You obviously do it a lot with your paint, and it's not so much that you're trying to make the vehicle have a certain. You're not trying to say this is an energy effect. It's not a. I mean, it is a glow, but you're not really imagining that it's an energy glow, are you? Like the front of the engines wouldn't have an energy glow, or on your hammerhead, the doorway. I guess there's lights.
I'm kind of imagining it as just inner components of the vehicle.
Got it.
That are glowing out.
I guess to my mind, this is you as an artist are telling the person who's looking at your model where to look.
Yes.
This is your
sure.
this is your hey, these are the cool parts of my model. Look here, right? With this effect. And it's like, you can take some liberties with like your headcanon about what that glow actually is representing in each case. Because you're essentially just communicating to the viewer, here's where to look.
Right. Yeah. I think I would say I like that interpretation. Okay, and now our friend Chris actually put both a rear-facing and front-facing visor on the top.
I love this about the model.
We kind of like this on the Piranha.
It has like strong Hoth snowspeeder vibes. You can imagine that the pilot and the gunner face opposite directions. The gunner's just jacked into the matrix with, I mean, there's no backward-facing gun on this thing, but like, you can imagine that he's like plugged in and shooting the fusion blaster from inside there, facing backwards.
Right. Yeah, like there's a view in the back, so they know what's going on. But maybe they're controlling the gun in the front. There's like another view in the front, or maybe the pilot has the view in the back.
Yeah.
You know, a Piranha could probably just whip around real quick and change its facing. So super cool. Yeah, it was a nice touch that he did there. And I liked it because it's like a little bit of his own spin on the thing, because it's not something that's on any other Tau vehicle.
Right.
So kind of cool, yeah. So yeah, just finishing up a little bit of the OSL here.
Actually, Zach, can you zoom in on me real quick?
Yes. How's that?
Great. So what I've done here on the Crisis, so you can see I've drilled a hole sort of at the bottom of this slot. So the slot there's sort of two facets that the slot exists on, a top facet and a sort of backward angled facet. And I'm probably at some point going to end up putting a magnet in both places, so that way you can have the weapon either sort of leaned back, maybe facing upwards, and then one sort of horizontal, sort of more deployed position that might be more appropriate for a weapon. But I like the idea of this, putting the magnet on this lean back portion for the support systems, like the shield generator. It's going to go like that. And so I've just basically enlarged the bottom of the slot into a hole, into a circle with the pin vise, the 1/8 inch drill bit. And now I'm going to grab one of my 1/8 inch magnets and check my polarity using the shield generator that I just assembled, which itself I checked the polarity using the other model that I made. And then I'm just going to slide it off the shield generator and onto my spatula, so that I can put it onto the shoulder of the Crisis suit. There we go. Okay.
I too like to make sure the polarity on my entire Tau army and my entire Suryani army is the same. I actually don't know if it's the same on both armies, but that's okay, because it probably doesn't need to be.
Because you're probably not going to put shuriken cannons on Riptides, huh?
On a Riptides, exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to put a very small, as small as I can manage, dab of glue.
Pat, by the way, K&J Magnets is the name of the company. K&J online.
Yes.
We like them.
Got a little bit too much. I'm just going to use a corner of a paper towel to get out a little bit of extra. And then here we go. Okay, I got the magnet in place. I'm just going to keep the spatula rotating just ever so slightly, just so that the magnet doesn't adhere to the spatula while the glue is drying.
Well, you don't like that?
Yeah. All right, and then pop it off. There we go. So yeah, there's always usually a little bit of glue that comes out, and so you end up having to clean that up with some sanding sticks or a little bit of scraping with a knife. And then here we are done, and we've got a shield generator that sticks onto our shoulder pad.
I like that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
I'm knocking out my Fusion OSL real
Yeah,
fast.
let's take another look.
I try to be consistent with my my glows, and Fusion I do is like this kind of dark blue color.
Oh yeah.
So here it is. Plasma I do as like a light blue color. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense.
But it's the consistency is good.
The consistency is important. So just a little bit of dark blue on their Fusion blasters here before I go through and do all the white, since white is the color I'm going to be using over top of all of this. And I don't know about you guys, but don't you hate when you're doing a bunch of stuff with an airbrush and you realize you forgot like one of the things? And so you have to like load up the whole color again just to like hit a couple spots.
Yeah, did that just happen?
Yeah, it just happened.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just have to go back and hit something with purple, a little bit of purple real quick. But of course, like the cleaning and everything is really the thing, you know?
Yep. That's the main time-consuming part of this. All right, well, thank you again to chat for your suggestion of using clippers for the missile pod, which I did. And that went way faster. And I didn't risk stabbing myself.
You have to do a little more sanding, but it's probably worth it, right?
Well, that's the great thing about these single-edged nippers, is they get really close and flush.
Oh, okay.
It's
The single-edged ones, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Brett's favorite.
We had a whole, not rant, but rave, I guess, about single-edged nippers a couple episodes ago. What was it? Oh, I guess a couple months ago now, when we were talking about hobby tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite hobby tools.
I love my single-edged nippers.
I'm just weirded out by the word nippers, if I'm honest.
Well, what do you call them, Zach?
Clippers.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's fine.
Both are okay. Is nippers like the British way of saying it?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know that it's British, but they are called that when you buy them. So
They are, yeah, no, you're right.
I guess I'm leaving it up to the person who's selling the product to tell me what their product is called.
Yeah, well, you can't always do that.
Yeah, it can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm just going to drill another hole for my magnet in the missile pod. And we'll be good to go.
Now I do have. I'm also gonna wrap up here quickly. I do have two things that I'll have to do off stream that I'm going to show you guys. Both of them you might not notice. Neither of them I would be faulted for, probably for not completing at any kind of is your stuff fully painted situation. But I will show them, and I might be able to do them kind of depending on what Brett's up to. But I'm kind of ready to stop when
Are you doing panel lining?
I did panel lining.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we did the panel lining. What we have left to do is the white OSL, which is super important. Also, I will put a decal here. I'll zoom in on me here. I do like to put decals on the sides of the piranhas, so I'll put a big Daleth decal on both sides of both piranhas here. And then the other thing I need to do, this piranha, when I got this piranha forever ago, and it didn't come with this little bit that goes in here. So I filled it in with green stuff, or green stuff, and just like went over it. And then this piranha has the bit. So this bit, I need to paint lenses on these. I do like little lenses, but I haven't done that. I guess I could have OSL'd them, which was just with the airbrush, but I think I usually actually just paint the lenses on those guys, like I do like my Crisis Suit eyes. Now I'm going to take a little Minotaur Snow White.
Have you ever painted a piranha? Is this your first piranha?
I've painted them in my old color scheme.
Old color scheme. Okay.
These guys both used to be like that, and then they were
stripped.
Stripped down, and now here they are.
And all of their Cerebite green glory.
I always tell
Cerberite.
Yeah, I always tell folks to practice. Right here, I am really making sure I understand the flow of what's coming out of my airbrush, since this is white and this is like a top kind of coat. Really
yeah, this is the one that has the potential for the most to go wrong, right?
That's right. Nothing sits on top of this, so whatever comes out is what we're getting.
And
so
it's like sort of the starkest amount of contrast.
That's right. And it's also, if a paint is going to splatter, it's going to be white.
Yep.
So We stay on top of this process the whole time, constantly checking things to see how it's going.
Checking the flow, checking the flow, checking the flow.
Off on the paper, yep, all the time.
If it ever feels like, you know, there's a chance that it might spatter or go do something that you're not expecting, you just stop, clear it out,
Yeah.
clean it out, brush off the tip, whatever.
I'm going to give my glow effect a little more white on one side than the other. On the visors, that is, sorry. So that we get like a little kind of natural shading there. Little decal piece sticking up. Flip this guy around. I do love the rear port that Chris put in
Yeah,
here.
it's a cool touch.
So when I do fusion, I said earlier that I do my plasma like a light blue. I really kind of think of my fusion as white almost, because I do put a lot of white on them.
Right.
But over top of the dark blue. Whereas the plasma, I do a little bit less, kind of under the theory that like whiter is hotter, right?
Right.
And so I'm kind of okay with covering a ton of the blue.
It starts with a lighter, the plasma starts with a lighter blue, but doesn't get as much white.
Exactly, yeah.
Got it.
You know.
Makes sense.
There we go. Okay. Here they are. I'm going to top down on Brett.
Yeah.
Are you doing something interesting?
So, well, I just finished the missile pod. So I put the magnet on the missile pod, and I was just doing a test ogle. So, how does it look? Do I like this? I think it looks good.
A test ogle.
Yeah, I'm ogling my model in a testing way. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I think I'm going to put one more magnet in this shoulder, just so that I could, in theory, have 2 guns on one arm, the missile pod on the shoulder, and a support system on the opposite shoulder. Because that's sort of in my head canon. Missile pods and support systems go on shoulders. All other guns go on arms.
Oh, that's kind of how I like it too.
Yeah.
I do like the missile pod on their shoulder.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I think I'm going to put one more magnet in this spot here on this shoulder, so that way I could have the shield gen here, a missile pod here, and then maybe 2 plasmas in the arm, or a double flamer, for example. So I think I'm going to do that. And then maybe I'll also magnetize this other support system. There's a lot of support systems in the new book that are free, that don't cost points, that you can put on crisis suits. And I think, oh, here I can do the flamer too, or the plasma. And so I think there's, a world where you might decide you want to put a second support system in addition to a shield generator. And so I have 2 support systems on the shoulders. And that could be interesting too. Yeah. So that's where we're at.
Okay, I'm going to
You're going to put some drones on there and do a test ogle?
drone up some piranhas. Drones already painted. Already painted 1 million drones one weekend. Oh no, this isn't a gun drone. This was a stealth drone.
Wouldn't that be neat if you could put stealth drones on your
Oh my god.
on your Piranha? Make them untargetable from outside of 18 inches.
Yeah, that would be intense.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm just putting the last hole in this guy. These I'm not using the small drill bit for this step, because the grooves that are already in the shoulders sort of help align the drills to keep it centered and in position. So I sort of already have that guide. So I'm just putting the hole at the end of the slot that's already in the model. And those of you who are familiar with the Tau line will notice that this is one of the original crisis suits. This is not the new kit. doesn't have any of the embellishments that the new kit has, but I have done a lot of work posing it. So posing these models is probably the most fun that I have in the hobby ever, is posing robot things, whether it's dreadnoughts or crisis suits. And so this guy has some of the Xb85 bits that we talked about earlier in the stream. That's an older commander kit that had some up armored. It was sort of a predecessor to the Iridium armor that you can put on suits now. So he had these like knee pads to show. And so this is the model that I use for Iridium suit in my squad. He's got these knee pad bits. And then the shoulder pad is also from one of those old commander kits. So this is from the Xv84, the shoulder pad. And then these arms are, like we said, custom 3D printed things. But the rest of the kit, the chest and the jetpack and the head are all the older Crisis kit.
Love it. Okay, can we look at some zoomy toys?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the car I want when I grow up.
My other car is a Piranha.
Yeah. So here we go. Finished my 2 Piranhas here with their special closed cockpits. Might zoom out a little bit, getting a little blurry there. There we go with the closed cockpits. There we go. They paint up super fast. These were basically just one airbrush coat.
Yep.
When we started.
And this would have been, you would still be painting the first one if you had to hand paint a bunch of pilots and screens and digital dials and digital readouts on the inside of that cockpit.
And you know what? Meg and I had a convertible for a little bit, a Mini Cooper. It was cool, but it had the ability to have a top cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the covers go up.
And so now our Pathfinders can have AC.
Yep.
They cannot get rained on.
Right. These aren't Pathfinders though.
Pathfinders don't pilot. You're right. That's a Tetra.
That's a Tetra.
So the Fire Warrior, well, they're all Firecast, right? But the Fire Warriors won't get rained on.
And in the fluff, these are like transports for like
ethereals, even
and like other high-ranking military members. They're sort of like military transports to get from point A to point B on the ground.
Yeah.
So that the fancy pants don't have to walk.
Yeah.
And if it's raining out,
you don't want your ethereal getting rained on.
Your ethereal getting rained on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. Very exciting, Brett. What are you up to here?
Well, I'm just I could do this little target lock bit, or or we could stop here.
Yeah.
Do you want to take some do some of the terrain stuff?
No, I don't think so. Well, let's call it. But I will show people what I'm up to here. I've done my glue and pink foam trick for these things because Brett designed these. They're super cool. We'll do a little top down on them here. You can see, and so. We've got some crates. We have a ton more of these. This is why I'm not so worried about getting to them later on. I've put them all here. I'm gonna do a ton more. And like I said, I put a metallic base coat down. Then I put a layer of the stuff that makes paint be scrapable. I probably won't get back to these for a little while now, like a few days, maybe a week. So of course I'll have to just put that layer down again, which is fine. They recommend putting a few layers down anyway. After that, I'll paint them, let that paint dry, and then kind of what's cool about that is you can do the scrape off thing, and we'll probably be able to show you guys that as we work on this towel board. I think maybe, I don't know, sometime it'll be being worked on in the next month. I don't want to say few weeks, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let me do, all right, cool. Do we want to put all this stuff on the glam cam and then we can show it off?
Yeah. Feel free to boot the Piranhas.
No, they need to. We got to put everything on there. We started out with a smorgasbord.
Oh yeah.
And we'll end there too. These were a very different color at the start.
Yeah, exactly, Ty.
And our crates. We got our crates here, which we didn't quite get to, but we'll include for completeness sake. All right.
There we go.
Zoom out a little.
Yeah, we'll do a little zoom out. There we go. Lots of towel. all tau all the time. Not exactly. We will do other things.
We'll get there. But you'll indulge, hopefully. Oh, you know what? I forgot my aerial on this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what? And I'm realizing now that with this Forge World turret on here, it doesn't actually work with those aerials.
Oh, it's okay.
So it's a good thing it's magnetized, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to use that turret with that tank ever.
Yeah.
Win.
Yay. We did some tau stuff. Like I said, I do have to put some, I think I got a blue, did I get a blue fingerprint on one of my piranhas? I can fix that. So we did some tau stuff, and next week, I think, well, we don't know, but I think we're going to be doing a little more tau stuff, maybe.
Yes.
Me, not so much. I will be painting something from another good guy alien faction that I happen to have
on your painting bench?
Yeah, on my painting bench. And we'll be doing some cool stuff, showing off some other cool techniques on that too. Coming else down the pipeline, I have no idea. We have some cool stuff. Cat will be back soon.
Well, we talked at the start of the stream how excited we are for this tau release.
Yeah.
I and Zach are both really excited too. Lots of tau things this month. So, strap in. This is going to be a tau heavy couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like to watch games, Gang Stream 40K games, check me out tomorrow on Tabletop Titans. I'll be playing these guys. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to take piranhas, but I probably should.
Yeah,
because I just painted 2 tau piranhas. Be playing some Daleth Sept. You can see much of the rest of my army. Be on the lookout in the coming months. In the coming month, we'll probably see Brett's guys on there as well.
Heck yeah.
We're going to see some tau all over the place. Adrian's tau on Saturday, kind of a special twist on them. So lots of tau if you're a tau fan on both Titans channels.
Lots of things to look forward to.
Yeah, if you're a tau fan.
All right,
and if
guys.
you're not, also, I guess.
Zach,
yes,
we did it.
We did it. Anything else, Brett?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, if you're interested in any of the STLs that we showcased here today, the crates, the weapon arms, and the piranha covers, and what was the other one? The jetpack bits.
Yes.
That we saw at the start. Those will be up on our My Mini Factory in the coming days, hopefully tomorrow.
Yep.
And I'll put the links to those in the VOD video description. So check out our My Mini Factory page if you have a 3D printer and want to try your hand at any of these things that we did today.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, I think we did it.
Yeah.
And as we like to say here, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and always be creating. See you guys.
Bye-bye.